I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, BusinessDay fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. BusinessDay is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, BusinessDay is your guide.
For 25 years, BusinessDay has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, BusinessDay now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new BusinessDay website today and experience the future of news.
Attention business leaders, want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium BusinessDay. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
Good morning. It's a beautiful Wednesday morning, and you're tuned into the Business Morning live show of Business Day Television. And as usual, we've got a packed morning ahead. Starting off with the morning news, we then move to the newspaper review. We bring you the conversations on the show and wrap up with the social listening. Of course, we'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll bring you the morning news. Just stay with us. And you're welcome to the Business Day Business Life News. I am Deborah Eze. Let's see what's making headlines. Nigeria's inflation slows to 15.43% as price pressures moderate. World Bank ties $200 million to Nigeria's mini-grid regulatory reforms. Federal government launches 100-day drive to unlock $100 billion tourism opportunity. And oil nears $19 as Trump threatens Oman over Hormuz. Let's begin the news. Nigeria's headline inflation rate eased for the second consecutive month, falling to 15.43% in July 2026 from 15.91% in June, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. The July figure was also significantly lower than 24.94% recorded in July 2025, indicating a continued moderation in the annual pace of price increases. However, the improvement remains uneven. Food inflation rose to 20.31% from 17.53% in June, driven by higher prices of items including rice, tomatoes, onions, garri, beef, and eggs. The latest data could strengthen expectations that the CBN may have more room to ease monetary policy, provided the downward trend in headline inflation is sustained. And moving on, the World Bank has tied $200 million in performance-based financing to Nigeria's efforts to strengthen the regulatory framework for mini-grids under its $750 million distributed assets through Renewable Energy Scale-Up (DERS) project. The funding is linked to reforms by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC), including batch processing of mini-grid license and tariff applications, a requirement for distribution companies to give 12-month notice before reaching mini-grid sites, and clearer rules on the rights of communities involved in urban mini-grid projects. The World Bank says the reform are critical to creating more predictable investment environment and attracting private capital into Nigeria's decentralized renewable energy market. And as of June 2026, DERS had provided electricity access to more than 5.2 million people, while over 1 million standalone solar systems had been deployed. The program Renewable Energy Capacity Target has also been raised from 465 megawatt to 811 megawatt. And in other news, the federal government, in partnership with digital platform My City app, has launched a 100-day tourism campaign aimed at turning Nigeria's annual festive season travel into a potential $100 billion economic opportunity. The campaign is designed to promote domestic tourism, attract visitors, and increase spending across Nigeria's hospitality, transport, entertainment, and creative sectors. The initiative comes as the government seeks to use tourism as a tool for economic diversification, job creation, and increased private sector participation beyond the country's traditional dependence on oil revenues. The federal government says stronger coordination across the tourism ecosystem and greater use of digital platforms could help Nigeria capture more value from its growing domestic and international travel market. And so in the news, oil prices rose as the market weighed renewed tension around the Strait of Hormuz, with Brent crude trading near $89 barrel after gaining about 6% last week. The latest escalation came after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to bomb Oman if it interferes with the U.S. blockade of Iranian ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Oman has been involved in efforts to negotiate arrangements to reopen shipping through the strategic waterway. The conflict has already disrupted shipping through the strait, a critical route for global energy supplies. Only 5 vessels transited on Saturday and 1 on Sunday, according to sources, compared with 31 vessels the previous weekend. With negotiations between Washington and Tehran stalled, markets remain concerned that further escalation could disrupt oil supplies and keep prices elevated, adding pressure to global energy costs. And that does it this morning on the news. Up next is the newspaper review. Just stay with us.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Doreen is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International Media Association. All welcome, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Day. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
For 25 years, Business Day has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, Business Day now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new Business Day website today and experience the future of news.
And you're welcome back to the Business Morning Live. Just in time for the newspaper review right here on Business Day Television. And of course, I'm not doing this alone. I'm going to be going through the dailies with one and only
Mohammed Abiodun Akoji. Good morning. No, I'm definitely a one and only. Good morning. How are you? We've been having some back and forth issues, behind the scene. How are you today? First of all, you're looking so good today.
Thank you.
Well done. How are you? It seems that Nigeria is treating you well. I should
go on a quick break. When we come back, we get to talk about inflation and everything Mohammed has to say. Welcome back to the Business Morning Live, and you're just in time for the newspaper review. Of course, I'm not doing this alone. I'm right here with my one and only
Mohammed Abiodun Akoji. Good morning, our audience. And it's nice seeing you again this week.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a fresh week. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Monday yesterday. But it's a fresh week, of course. I mean, on Tuesdays we're usually here, even with our back and forth.
Yeah.
Anyway, that usually have. And that was the weekend anyway.
My weekend was very
good. It was issue dominated.
Yes, everywhere. Even so, yesterday.
I didn't think it's going to win. I'm sure you know.
You did think?
I didn't think. I didn't think it's going to win.
Exactly. I said this yesterday.
No, I did not think it's going to win. Because I felt like it's a close call. But I think two things I give it to the Osun people: the massive turnout.
Yeah.
this is like the first time in Nigeria. I think I felt like there's political apathy. But it appears that there is this level of political participation is really, really heightened. Don't forget, I remember it was a Thursday we were here, 1.9 million people, 2.3 million registered to vote, 1.9 million collected their PVC.
Yeah.
And 1.2 million people came out to vote.
Nice.
It's amazing. 1.9 million. I'm talking about, I want to look at voting demographics. So it feels like there's that massive turnout, there's that massive mobilization, and Osho people, as Osho people spoke. Look at the margin, just 66,000. That may not be just anyway. But if you compare it to the third candidate,
no, the margin was. I said this yesterday. It was really, really close. Really close. And I really wasn't expecting it.
I wasn't expecting to win anyway.
And that was what brought out the controversy of endorsing the current,
exactly. And that's why there's a brand of politics in Ghana.
Yeah.
It's called skirt and blouse politics.
Okay.
That's what they call it in Ghana. Split vote, whereby you vote for.
You
vote for another party in this election because Ghana political, you only skirt and blouse. You can't able to get that. So you vote for you, like scratch my back.
Yeah, I scratch you.
So you're another party. I help you this time. You also come back as well and come and help me.
Right.
So maybe that's what we're able to happen.
Anyways, congratulations to the people of Osun State. I'm sure that they voted for their candidates, and the candidate they wanted won. So big congratulations to the dancing governor. All right, let's take a look at what the newspaper, the dailies, are saying this morning. And we're going to be starting off strong with the Business Day newspaper. And of course, very interesting one. We're going to have a field morning this morning. And we have rising food. Rising food prices weaken Nigeria's disinflation gains. I'll take that again. Rising food prices weaken Nigeria's disinflation gains. And that story is on page 31 of the Business Day newspaper. At the top of the Business Day newspaper, of course, we have Girigo leaves investors in dust as stocks stay stuck at 52-week low. And that story is on page 30. Taxes keep intra-African flights pricier than long-haul Europe. And that is on page 31. And also Nigeria's 5-week reign as world top stock market ends. What top stock market ends as South Korea surges. And that is on page 30 of the Business Day newspaper. Just so you know, every time I get to see anything that has to do with food prices, the economy, I just feel like Dr. Oja Bello.
To push that out.
And he does his research. I think there's a particular piece he writes. I see it every Sunday, if I'm correct. I've seen it like consecutively, every Sunday. And every time I read it, I'm just in awe. And I'll be like, where is Mohammed? Okay. So let's talk about it.
I'm right here with you anyway.
We understand that the general inflation has eased, but then now
food inflation.
Let's talk food inflation.
Unfortunately. So maybe just a background. First, we know that every 15th of the month is when the NBS, the
National Bureau of Statistics
Institute, exactly, National Bureau of Statistics, release inflation figures. Now, inflation figures in this part of the world is measured by what they call CPI,
right?
Consumer Price Index. We simply measure by how much consumers are paying. That's what it means. We call Producer Price Index, PPI, in economics. Maybe those are. Then we have other price indexes that we use.
Right.
But at least for our whole context here, we use CPI, which is actually feeling the pulse of Nigerians who go to the markets to buy goods. Good. So first, we see that for 12 consecutive months now, other than just a little outlier in April, because of the Iran war, we've seen that there is a deceleration in inflation, or disinflation as they called it. Now, inflation, because this is inflation figure, don't forget, for July. It was inflation figure that was just calculated between June 15 and July 14. So now July 15. So which is what we are seeing now. So around that period, the report there shows that inflation eased, by about 250 basis points, from 15.9 to 15.43. There is that, because that is, kind of like, what do call is that? In economics, we have what we call about basis points. It's very, very vital. But unfortunately, if you look at the CPI component, there are three major things that are there. When they disaggregate it, because we're trying to, that's one of the model I'm working on now for Business Day, where we'll be able to use it to be able to generate, we call it like a basket of goods. Now, the first thing there is what we call energy. Energy is a very important component because most of the things that go there, food is another component. Then transport and related items. So there's a way they will release them, but food, you can't put that out because that is what affects
the major spending of Nigerian household.
Power. So when we talk about energy as well, energy will now include power, petrol, and other things like that go into it. But you see that food, we've been struggling to be able to, I don't say force it down, but initiate measures that allow us to actually be able to drag it down.
Right.
And that's what I think you are saying there about that there is still a spike. But this is still better anyway, because we look at where we're coming from. Unfortunately, what caused that is several factors that economists have actually explained. In terms of what has happened, there are a lot of post-harvest losses because of flood. I don't know that you saw the news yesterday in Abuja.
Yes, I did, and I was shocked.
The amount of rain, you can see the flood level. Maybe we have had our own in Lagos too. I don't know. Maybe it's just like God is spreading it around. I don't know. But I'm talking about post-harvest losses in terms of flood that have damaged a lot of things that happened around that period. Because don't forget that July beginning, the level of flood that we witnessed, not only in Nigeria, so it's a major factor that accounted for this. So farmers are expected to actually be able to get some harvest around that period, couldn't do it because of that. And students also wanted to plant, couldn't be able to plant as well. And then coupled with insecurity that was at heightened at that level, those that were supposed to go to farm couldn't go to farm as well. Some of those things were there. So the government, because that's what, as much as possible, we are getting a hold of inflation. We know that because if you look at this is the general food inflation in some states, Deborah, if you disaggregate it, because we have what we call urban inflation, rural inflation, there is no state by state. State like Benue, that we call the food basket population, are suffering massively. Insecurity is a problem there. Now, average food inflation is 20%. In those states, it's about 30%. For you to know how worse it is, Plateau, because I was looking at the disaggregated data yesterday. I couldn't come because I was somewhere. And I was looking at, maybe as economists, we try to look at beyond the main figures, then you disaggregate. Let's see what are the components. Then you look at states. Maybe only some of the northern states that actually be able to have less than 15%, 13%. No state has, all of them are still in double digits. And that is a red flag to any nation. When you have a food inflation that is above 10%, that's what double digits is a problem. You need as much as everything, all that has to be on there to ensure you drag it down, to ensure that this can be able to come to a single digit. And that's what, as much as possible, the CBN is trying to do something in that regard to ensure that interest rate is actually held firm, at that 26.7, just like 26.5 as you've seen. It's because of all these structural dynamics. We call them, they are structural dynamics that will not allow you to just say, let us draw down the interest rate, because inflation is still there. As we say this in economics, we are not yet out of the hoods. And I think that's one of the major problems that caused that. But effort is being made. We're trying to actually be able to get a hold of inflation, and we're at least even hoping that by the end of the year, maybe we'll be able to reach 10% for inflation. But food inflation, a lot still has to be done in that regard. And I'm sure we'll not disaggregate it back, because I'm sure behind the camera we're talking about maybe rice, tomatoes that we buy. Maybe we'll also be able to feel the pulse of Nigerians. How much has those things cost these days? I don't know, but the last rice I bought, maybe let me talk about my own experience.
We will not talk about yours, because you're always having good experience.
The experience I had was I've not bought rice.
You're always having good experience with you. The reporter, Dr. Ojabelo, did his research, and he himself, he's written body here, that's rice, gari, beef. When was the last time you bought beef?
Okay, let me see. I don't buy it.
So I buy beef
that. Okay. I don't go to the market to buy that. But I know that maybe that's why I can say rice, beans, those ones that I know. But as I said, rice now maybe buy it once, twice in a year, maybe.
I think we cannot dispute. We cannot dispute what the LDS is saying and what our reporter is saying. Now there's food inflation. We cannot reconcile. There is food inflation. You mentioned something about flood, and I really want to call you to it. I don't think it is God though. Because
it's coming from heaven.
Exactly. I think we're the weather is now moving in a way that the government is not ready to accept. That is just it. We are having natural disasters, right? And climate change and all of that. It is the
quantity of rain that is. What I'm saying here is, I think the amount of Abuja now, right from time immemorial.
Abuja has perfect time plan.
We know. So look at what happened there.
Climate change is moving. So
it's now
it simply means the government.
Or the government himself.
No, government. It's the government. The government are not.
Talk about
they're not ready to move.
I feel like it's God that's responsible for that. Government is not responsible for coming. So if the quantum of rain coming down, he's like,
okay, you don't tell me that Lagos it is also God.
What I'm saying is, okay, let me just
yeah.
In my own estate, the rain that fell in the first week of July, like told
it's still there.
No, I'm not saying in my lifetime. I have been in this world for a while too. I can't see my age anyway. I've never seen that rain in my life.
That's what I'm saying.
I have never. I'm not about in my estate now. Just going that lucky has been raining.
But you know, there are actually people. I think they call them. That's what we know as weather forecast. There are people who actually like meteorologists
that predict.
Now, I'm sure they knew that this sort of thing would happen, and they work hand in hand with the government.
They didn't predict. They predicted. No, I don't think they did. Okay, look at this case now. We don't predict that the amount of rain would have been this high. Okay, for example, it's just like a woman who went for her scan. What do you call it? A pregnant woman, for example. This kind of guy will tell you this child here is a male.
No, that's
I'm just saying that you have advanced that level. But you give birth to that child now because that's what I'm talking about. God factor there.
Yeah.
The scan will tell you the child here is a male. The child is
I still think the government has to look for a solution that you know exactly.
I can't rule out that fact.
Gerigo has been in the news for
right now.
Wow, now and it's not the same thing. It's something new every day by day. Now this time around, we understand that they are actually in debt.
Of course.
And
default. I think the
debt. Which default is the debt. Now they've let their investors in the dust because stocks actually stay stuck. People who invested in Gerigo.
I don't know. I'm sure you do stock as well. I advised someone and was telling me about it. But I felt like we heard now that something will likely happen this week.
Okay.
It hit a very high time low, over the week on Friday. Because that's the problem. So in the stock market, the way the market reacts, any little sneeze, I don't know like saying a country sneezing, the country's cold. Because Gerigo was doing very, very well as at until the end of July. When that default, they're supposed to be able to make that payment to their investors, especially the debenture holders, as we call them. Okay, that's what we call them. They're supposed to make that, so they defaulted.
Yeah.
And that sent shivers down the spine of many people.
They started
pulling out. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Just little things.
Always happens.
And that's exactly what happened. So people just started,
moving out their money, selling,
backing hotels, everyone is. But something likely happened this week, as I said. I'm not able to confirm it yet, but from my reliable source, like maybe we're looking at the regulators, trying to be able to see how that can be mitigated, and then reassured, bring back confidence to them. Gerigo has been there out the storm, and that also be able to now speak volume of other power generating companies as well. People have started, pinning searchlights into them. What is really happening here? What are these people doing? And things like that. So I know it's quite unfortunate, but maybe I'll tell you something amazing will happen about that stock this week because it's something I have an extensive.
We just have to keep our fingers crossed on that. Yes. Having said that, let's move to the Punch newspaper. The big story on the Punch newspaper this morning reads 31 states, and that's on insecurity. 31 states spend 252 billion naira on security in 6 months. And the rider to that story reads 22 state security bill jumps by 90% as governors tackle insecurity. And also spending covers security equipment, personnel, security votes, others. Experts seek tech deployment. And the final rider to that story, Kogi, Plateau, Bauchi spent only 32% of security budgets in 6 months. At the top of the Punch newspaper, we have WAEC on the fire over 2026 results, alleged grading anomalies, and that is on page 30. And we have pension arrears, ex-soldiers set to protest at Defense Ministry, and that's on page 30 also. And terrorists kill 28 in Sokoto community, Army GOC visit, and that is also on page 30. And we have Buhari Estate Row, Amosun 8 back at Abiodun, and that is on page 29. And below the Punch newspaper, NDLEA destroys 301 billion naira drugs, arrest 10 in Edo. And that is on page 4 and 5. And also we have teacher crisis. 32 million Nigerian pupils share 592,077 teachers. And that is on page 20. And we have Onuru State 2 months blockade leaves Lagos residents stranded, and that's on page 4 and 5. And finally, on the Punch newspaper, Osun local government crisis, policeman injured as Adeleke chairman sees secretariat, and that is on page
Secretariat.
And that is on page 8.
Thank you. Okay.
A lot of stories on the Punch newspaper this morning. Yeah, let's start with
Did I chime in? Let me chime
yes,
the
yes,
headline
please.
itself.
Yes, please.
Is security, which we know very well. It's always a very contentious issue. It's always a very burgeoning issue. Everyone wanted to actually be able to chime in and talk about it. But I think this deep analysis that Punch, did today shows that if you look at about of the 36 states, 31 of them have expended close to more than about 250 billion naira to be able to fight that.
Yeah.
But the question is still translating into secured lives, secured properties for Nigerians. And I'm sure some of the riders you read there that's actually very troubling is the fact that some of those states, look at Kebbi, Flashpoint State, Bauchi, even spend just at 32% of their security allocations.
Yeah.
And it's a state that actually be able to face insecurity issues every now and then. So I'm sure that the analysis they did there was just to be able to draw attention and let Nigerians also be able to see the reality. But that even though now it appears that there is less hues and cry about security, that's still happening, no doubt about that.
But it's not like
as
2 months, 3 months.
Yeah. Very much, Deborah. That's what I'm talking about. So but that doesn't mean that we should let our guards down. These criminal elements too have actually retreated to go and re-strategize.
Yeah.
As we're planning here, they're also doing their own to come and large scale attack. And that's why the governors should not just, as much as we're entering into the system of politics, they should not be able to let their guards down, as well as our security outfit as well, to ensure that things are put in place, so that because these other guys too, this criminal element as we call them, this terrorist element, are not resting on their hours. So I'm sure that it is good we have stories like this, and then more attention needed to be drawn to it, because there's always this thing about events issues being overtaken with events, and everyone will actually be able to complain about that as quickly as possible. The other thing about I heard about WAEC, thank you. The report from school owners and school administrators that most of their high-performing students, they were surprised in terms of the results that they gave them. In fact, one of them in Mowe, Ibafu, was talking about a student that was among the top-performing students in JAM, couldn't do very well in the result. So they were trying to see, was it because of the computer-based, WAEC has started the expanded computer-based test from this year. Could that be the reason why that result was like that? Maybe WAEC to be able to come out, WAEC to come out and be able to provide clarity into why some of the school owners. So I think the complaint is still rudimentary. Some of them were talking about that. Some of the interviews that some of those school owners, school administrators, principals who understood the capability of their students and then coming out with results that they felt like it's not hard enough. So they felt like, would it be computer glitches? Could it be grading anomaly? I think you read that in that case, or maybe the computer was not properly programmed, and then maybe you can't hold out their complaint as well, because this is just like initial phase. They're just starting with computer-based exam in JAM. So that is likely going to actually be a possibility in terms of what they mentioned there. And that story that I think I want to quickly jump on was, I have not read the full story, but I started hearing that yesterday, that there is actually a big fight as well between the governor of Osun, the present governor of Osun State, and over Buhari Estate. Maybe I think another story you read that I was interested in, could be able to open my head.
The pensioners for ex-soldiers or NDLEA?
NDLEA, thank you very much. NDLEA. And that's another thing. Because I know you are really interested in that. Drugs, especially amongst our youth.
And,
I was marveled because I was somewhere yesterday and I was hearing some names of drugs in my life I have never heard of. There are names, I'm telling you, these are drug names. To me, I feel like Colorado is a state in the US. I never knew there's a drug called
because it's grown in Colorado.
Okay, but so when somebody say Colorado to me, my mind will be going to a state in US.
You know,
everyone was telling me you guys don't know what they're talking about. That is, that's why I knew that it's Colorado. They call Colos, so whatever they call it. Okay, we know. I know. I've heard about that. And then you started reading some other names. I'm talking about two different names.
Fish head.
Oh my God! Which is that one? Fish head.
I'm
the other names you hear. That's all these. I don't know it's Gen Zs that are doing that.
Gen Zs? No, come on, come on. Drugs has always been a problem.
Now.
It's because we have the media now talking about it. Because I remember growing up, I used to have uncles that yes. And that's when I was starting to understand that there is actually something called this. And my uncles, of course, had friends that have friends that have friends. But now the media is now throwing its weight into the whole drug abuse. I went to Olabisi Onabanjo University, and I would tell you, NDLEA was our best friend.
Always coming to school every now and then.
When you hear Olabisi Onabanjo, you hear raid. It's either police is raiding or NDLA is raiding or EFCC is raiding. For you to see that it's not a Gen Z thing. I think Gen Z, when it comes to drug, I don't even think they are catching up. Yes, for real.
Okay.
I don't think they are catching up.
Thank you very much for that education. Well, I feel like I've never really heard of this when I was growing up. In school, I know it's didn't really come like that. I was saying yesterday, because maybe I was just in the gathering of some of them, and I was like, and I was hearing, you just mentioned Fisher now, I had Colorado, I know
Ghana Loud.
Thank you very much. Canadian Loud.
Canadian.
And you'll be hearing terms. Maybe some other what are the meaning of all that? But they're telling you this one. So to us now, what I'm saying, when we're going to school, the worst of drugs you could take in this life is Igbo. Okay, sorry, as I call it, weed. The highest of
weed. That's the same thing.
But now it has gone beyond it's like your life has spoiled. But no.
That's what I'm saying. You see now, this is where the contradiction is.
Okay.
So the way we have different meds for headache, that's the same way we have different names for weed. So they are all that's the name that you know. It has now diversified. Other names, exactly. So it's not a Gen Z thing. But the thing now is just that the media is now paying attention to it.
Maybe and the names you've never heard. That's what I'm saying. So when you're growing up, just want to get. Once they said you are spoken in your life, you know that your life has spoiled. Sorry for when they said that. But now, tomorrow you're not telling me Igbo like
it's just maybe compared to but they are all under in the same class of weight. Yeah. But I must really give it to people who actually do sensitization.
Of course.
Because we can't
rule them out. Because
not even NDLEA now. We have private bodies now who go under the bridge, who go to the slum to talk to people, communities where we have this youth waste their lives, for drugs. Must really give it up to them. And I think the NDLEA can actually do better because for me, all I know they do is they're trying their best. To be honest, to raid because every now and then you see them really raiding. Exactly. But what is shocking is after you raid a particular place, you come back to that same spot and they're still selling it.
So were they released?
I have no idea. I think we'd have to leave that for them to answer. Let's now move to the Guardian newspaper. This morning, the Guardian newspaper, the big story reads, concerns as cost of living pressure. It lingers despite easing inflation, and that is on page 6. And at the top of the Guardian newspaper, we have federal government 6,000 megawatts wheeling capacity before December. The federal government targets 6,000 megawatts wheeling capacity before December, and that's on page 3. Oyedele seeks stronger fiscal federalism, tax states on economic diversification, and that is on page 3. And Osun poll raises 2027 questions as APC reviews defeat, observers flag flaws, and that is on page 6. And we also have like this nest oil and cases. Yeah.
But I think, can I chime in?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'll also take it from economics because of that's my forte, and I'll go to politics. But I know you only say that your second best thing, according to you,
is politics.
Anyway, so I'll start with the 6,000 megawatt wheeling capacity. It's very different from distribution. So distribution is listed around 12,000, 13,000.
Right.
So wheeling is exactly what they distribute to us, what they wheel into the facility. And federal government is still targeting that, by national grid. Our worry is just hope that it can take it. It's not going to collapse again because they've loaded 5,000. They loaded 5,000 last year. This year I've not witnessed collapse. Thank God. Okay, maybe once. Like saying, remember that time where we were having? I'm sure most of us are with yourself here. We are here talking about national grid collapse again. I've not really heard that this year. It's because of, do you know the reason for that? When they wheel about 5,000 megawatts on it, it just shut down because of dilapidated and outdated facilities that they have there. So perhaps the federal government, to the Ministry of Power, is trying to, they've done something, replace some of these moribund, outdated infrastructure that can take 6,000. Because our worry and the concern would just be that if they wheel it there, it's just like as you wheel something, put it on it, they can now talk about they want to distribute. So last year, in fact, at the time, that was what the time Adelabu was there. It was also built over Nigerians. In fact, I remember in my own estate, I used to call him a name. That's I'm one of speaking unprintable names there. I used to call him then. Mr. Adelabu. That he said he needed 5,600, 500 megawatts on it. Collapse.
Yeah.
And then so these are the major challenge. Then so I think we're looking at government should see whether that could be done properly. Then I think it's Oyedele.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
stronger fiscal federalism.
Because I think I really respect the guy very much, and I know he knows his onions. So economic diversification. I think we are not able to talk that more than enough. That the monolithic economy. Yes, there's a gradual push away from focusing only on oil. Diversification, and one of the things I felt like government should do. Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala, Professor Okonjo-Iweala did that when she was the Minister of Finance, is that can we start with diversification at the state level? In this Nigeria, our research shows that every state has one resource or the other that we can produce for export basis and commercial basis, really for only consumption. So can we do one state, one resource? One state, instead of only focusing on oil from the Niger Delta, from the South, can we do one state, one resource? Government give them what's necessary. So we talk about fiscal federalism, where states are not just going cap in hand at the end of the month. Let me go and take our own share of the national cake, as they call it, because that's on toward words. So how can we be able to balance that? It's through this state as well, diversification in that regard. And I think more go back to politics is about Osun.
Right.
I think we had APC just like we read there. Because I'm sure they are shocked.
Yeah.
They are shocked by the outcome.
I was shocked too.
I was shocked. Okay. Yeah, I was just surprised. I was not really sure because it's a sitting government. But I think that's that is my concern because I had this debate with people on Sunday, maybe in my estate, and we're talking about and in my mosque. Well, maybe that's where I usually go to. Okay. And we're talking about now, this has been done now. Should we commend the Mr. President for allowing a free, transparent, credible election to hold sway?
Is that why?
No. How about I asked them the question. Skirt and blouse. Before the government even announced that, because I remember we just finished praying 7:45 a.m. in the morning. I remember the result was announced, and I was talking to about that were just in the mosque. Okay, can we now say that we should commend the Mr. President? Because a lot of the rhetoric has been that federal mines will come to Osun State. You can never lose Osun State. You do everything possible. This is a man that actually willing to allow free, fair, and the voice of Osun people to count. So I think it is good APC to go back, let them take their stock again. This is actually a litmus test ahead of 2027 to show that nobody, I think I heard Mr. Ostachi talk, and I think that the only way any party can rig election in 2027 is for election not to hold at all. Because I can tell. I don't think anybody can rig. The only way it can rig is for election not to hold.
Do I agree? No.
Okay.
But we have to move on to the Vanguard newspaper. What do we have in the Vanguard? The big story of the Vanguard, how 24 firms control over 70% of Nigeria's stock market. And the rider there reads 9 banks, 5 consumer goods, 3 industrial good firms top list. And also Osun poll, APC claims internal wrangling cost defeats. And that is on page 23.
Where did you choke?
And at the top, I don't agree. At the top of the Vanguard newspaper, we have food inflation rate rises 5th consecutive month to 20.31%. And that is on page 19. IBB, IGP, Ike, Nwachukwu, Osaba, Oshoba, Obiagbena, others for Vanguard at 40 book launch tomorrow. Of course, 85th birthday, no leader has impacted Nigeria as Babangida, and that is coming from Tinubu. And 2027, your votes will count. INEC assures Nigerians, and that is on page 8. And below the Vanguard newspaper, Army draws battle line with Lakurawa terrorists, and that is on page 43. And on xenophobia, federal government to evacuate 3 Nigerians from South Africa tomorrow, and that is on page 5. MBF rejects forcible land allocation for cattle ranching in Middle Belt, and that is on page 9. And finally, ASU threatens, indefinite strike as 200 Kaduna varsity lecturers.
It's not national strike, so it's not Kaduna.
That's why
I thought it was a strike. ASU Kaduna.
Because yesterday we read that they are ready to no, they didn't threaten strike. They're ready to negotiate, which is really good. National body. Because as usual, what they will do is we are going on 2-week strike and they go on strike. You get. So that when I saw
so Kaduna, they are lecturers.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they are. It's not like maybe they don't have but maybe something is happening. Could it be Japa? Could it be other schools, private schools that actually be able to attract them?
Right.
So that's a factor. But I think other thing I want to read is the headline first.
The 24 fans.
I can talk about it. Yeah. I don't. Last year we have that we masticate over it. Number of 900 new millionaires being created in the stock market, and you're like, how many people? And people ask me, how many people have entered into poverty? But okay, we celebrate small gains, right? 900 new millionaires, close to about 15 to 20,000 new people that actually be able. Billionaires, not the billionaires, and about 12 to 15,000 millionaires have actually been created as a result of stock market activity. And I think my Punch today did stocks that are actually doing very well. 24 of them that people have actually seen anyway, and they've accounted for much of the larger gains that we've seen. Especially, I'm sure telecom is doing very well. Telecom, oil and gas, and some of the year-to-date reports that we have seen from them here. So I'm sure that those 24 firms were there. When people read them, they would actually be able to understand what have been done, and now they are year-to-date gain, right? Actually be able to, have reason in terms of that period and how people are gaining. I just keep telling our people at home, this is actually a period for them to be able to gain. So finally, I think it was a story. Okay, maybe.
No, I think if you want to get an arc of any of the stories, you can grab any of the dailies. And of course, we're going to be wrapping up with the cartoon of the day. What do we have on the cartoon this morning? And of course, we have the dancing governor. I think he's apart from Alex Oti, I think he's everyone's favorite.
Seriously,
I think so too.
Okay, everyone said, not everybody. Not mine.
You're on the
franchise.
And then this is just a congratulations to the dancing governor. Democracy wins, and we can see the number of votes he had, which is 511,067 votes. Good.
I agree he won, and I know he won.
Yeah.
Congratulations to him. But I think it's a renewed effort.
But people, I think for his first term, people really did see the impact of his government.
Of so I heard. No, I stayed in Shuto as well. I schooled there. I schooled there. My undergrad was there before I did my postgrad somewhere else.
Yeah.
And even when I got married, I remember I loved the state so much that I stayed there for about 8 years before I relocated back to Lagos. So it was actually a very good state. But I interacted with some people, and I heard that he has done well in that regard.
Yeah.
And that's why the voice of the people, their voices matter.
Yeah.
They're spoken, they want him. But I think it's also it's a renewed effort on his own part to ensure that they said, you give to me, I give to you. Just sure people have spoken, let him also be able to do
what is right. Of course, I'm very sure he'll be able to do what is right. Thank you so much, Mohammed.
Thank you very much.
It was really good to have you on the newspaper review. And of course, we've come to the end of the newspaper review. Up next is Conversations on the Business Morning Show. Just stay with us.
I am, of course, a great admirer of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and and business services of Business Day. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with Business Day.
Business Day is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, Business Day has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At Business Day, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision-makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Dorin is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International News Media Association. All welcome, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about business days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question. You'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of Business Week. This is Business Day TV. And as you know, Business Week is a weekly Monday program brought to you every Monday at 9 a.m. Where we review topical business news. And today in the studio, I'm joined by two gentlemen. To my extreme right over there, I've got Dipo Oladende, who's our assistant editor and energy desk editor. And then I've got Wasiu Ali, who's our deputy online editor. You're welcome, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good to be here once again.
Great. Before we go into our topics of discussion this morning, first a few headlines. Governor Ademola Adeleke reaffirms support for Tinubu's re-election after winning the governorship election in Osun State. BRICS moves linking instant payments, digital currencies across member states. Donald Trump ends temporary protection for 4 African countries' nationals in the US, Somalia, Sudan, Cameroon, and Ethiopia. And finally, Iran offers $30,000 bounty for capturing US soldiers as dispute remains. And now, straight into topics for discussion today. I think it will be right to start with what happened over the weekend on Saturday, the Osun State election that led to the victory. I won't say landslide because the margin was just 6%, but the victory of Governor Ademola Jackson Adeleke. What did you make of that election, Dipo?
Yeah, thank you very much. My view is the voter turnout was a bit impressive. I mean, we saw the population turnout of about 44%, close to 45%.
Yeah.
For Nigerian standard, I mean, for other countries that might be poor, but for Nigeria, where we normally use over around 22, 23, 30, that's quite impressive. So a lot of people turned out to vote. The turnout was quite impressive. And the fact that there were pockets of violence in some communities, but I'm not sure we recorded any death incidents, right? So again, there were conversations around vote buying, both from the ruling party and then the opposition as well. And then if you look at all the candidates, the Accord Party, the APC candidates, and then the ADC was widely supported by Aregbesola as well. I think the opposition gave, when I say the opposition now, I'm talking about the APC and then the ADC, they gave the Accord Party a run for their money. It was very competitive.
Yeah.
You talked about the margins.
I don't think 6%.
Yeah, just about. So what we don't know now is, will the opposition be challenging the developments at the court of election tribunal? That's one. And then the second thing is, now that there is the Adeleke had won again, what does this mean for Osun States? In this first 4 years, it was payment of salary was not a problem. He boasted about building quality infrastructure during his the TV program, where a live debate where he was talking about his plans. And then for what people will be expecting going for the next term would be, again, infrastructure about roads, the roads that connect Osun to its neighboring states, and the economic viability of that road. Just this morning, I was discussing with colleagues at the office about how the state is mostly a civil servant state. The government is the biggest employer of labor. There's no quality private sector. You look at Osun in terms of attracting FDI, it's still relatively locked in. So again, he has his hands full in terms of meeting the demands, bringing the demands of democracy.
Yeah, but you know, I was going to come to that. But maybe I should give Wasiu a chance now to chip in. What does the entry of Governor Adeleke look like now that he's won the election? What does he have to do? Like Dipo rightly said, Osun State is still pretty much dependent on government. Government is the single largest contributor to economic growth in Osun State, whether you're talking about jobs and all of that. But you need the state to come to that point where private capital also plays a starring role. So what does his entry look like? What do you think Governor Adeleke should work on now that he has gotten his second term?
Yeah, I think he has laid the foundation, because
there's a couple of discussions around infrastructure. Yeah, and I mean that's the first point. If you have quality infrastructure, it brings it opens door for investments. Osun is known for tourism, and I think that's one low-hanging fruit that the government has not really, focused on, utilized. So if they can invest more on that and standardize those tourist centers, then you can bring in dollars from foreigners that will come in, and then with the infrastructure in place, then you can open door for more investment, especially in areas of tourism. And I think power is also a thing now that states can now generate their own power. I learned that Osogbo, I mean the capital of Osun, has stable power. But I think if the government can step up efforts on that regard, then you have private capital, private businesses opening up. If a state is if the largest employer of labor in a state is the government itself, then that signals that there's a lag in terms of productivity. There'll be a lag in terms of productivity, and then the largest the wage bills of the government would be. That's not really a good one for the government. But I think if you could look into tourism thoroughly, I think it's going to play a major role.
Absolutely. And I like the point you've made about tourism. States should focus on areas where they have comparative advantage. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everything to everyone. But once you find something that that you can truly utilize, that would help you develop your state, the fortunes of your state, then why not? So tourism, that makes a lot of sense. But finally, we've seen 2 off-cycle elections now. Osun State, and of course we've seen was it Ekiti before now?
I think
there
was election in Ekiti.
So I know these are early days. Those 2 off-cycle elections that we've seen, but are there any permutations that we can make, any inferences we can draw from these 2 off-cycle elections in terms of predicting what might happen at the presidential election? I know APC won in Ekiti State, but lost in Osun State, even though Governor Adeleke has given his allegiance to the president, right? And is really backing him. But is there any, Wasi, you want to try, or Deepak wants to take a first peek at that?
I think it's a fresh blow to the ruling party APC now, because having Osun would have been a clear cut in the
they don't have Osun. Even if I know they don't have Osun.
In the real sense of it,
they don't. But the governor there is
swinging allegiance to the president, which means that
he mobilized his people to turn up for APC at the presidential election. But that would be strange if Accord were to produce a presidential candidate as well.
If Accord would produce a presidential candidate, he probably wouldn't. I wouldn't say wouldn't go anywhere, but it wouldn't pull that much crowd. But that's even off the table, because that window is already closed. But what it really indicates is that democracy is still thriving in the country, despite the fact that violence was high rate of violence was recorded in the election. And for 2027, like you mentioned, it's really not looking like it's going to be a big contest, because the governor is already dining with the president, and of course that means that there's really no opposition in that state. So, but it's a clear indication that democracy is still there, and of course votes really would count. And of course, if voters can come out in mass and monitor their voters, we saw in Osun, then of course we should be assured that there was going to be a credible, free and fair election.
Good. Deepak?
Yeah, so my view is 2 things. First of all, the IREV discussion, right? So for the first time, we saw real-time uploading of election results. So a lot of people would expect this same pattern to continue on the general election, because if election results are uploaded in real time, then everybody can know, monitor everything. You can track everything going on at the same time. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, in my view, I think what these off-cycle election have showed us is the fact that votes will likely be, it won't be tilting towards one candidate, because let's not forget that in the Southwest we have, first of all, there is a governor in Oyo State who is a presidential candidate. Yeah. Right. There is also Peter Obi as well, although he's not from the Southwest, but then he's from the southern part of the country. So what that shows is the fact that all the votes will not be going overwhelmingly to Tinubu. Some of them will be spilled to Isheyi Makinde in the picture. Some will be spilled to Peter Obi in the picture as well. So what this means is for Tinubu to get overwhelming victory, he needs more than the Southwest, right? He needs to build his tentacles along the northern corridor as well. And then he also needs to start forming alliance with, maybe have a meeting with Isheyi Makinde, for instance, because that Isheyi Makinde will definitely be spilling vote, because some people in Osun State will definitely be voting for him. Yeah. Some people in Ekiti State, another off-cycle state, will definitely be voting for him. And then again, Peter Obi is also still a favorite in all of these states as well. So in my view, the southwestern states would definitely be splitting some, the candidates will be sharing the votes among themselves.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Yes, I mean, as you rightly pointed out, I think that there'll be stiff competition going into that 2027 election. But I think what we saw on Saturday with the Osun election, I think is it's good. There'd been a trend in Osun State where voter turnout had been declining every single year since 2002. So I think, or 2003. So I think that that you had a break in that trend this time around. People really did come out, even though you had, there were threats in there. People were worried how the elections would go through because of. I mean, you had someone who even came out to say that some people should be killed and all of that. So it was really threatening, but people still turned out in mass, and democracy won. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Good. Okay, let's move to our second topic. Inflation numbers due today. Yeah. Last week we talked about it. Wasi wasn't here, but we talked about our expectations that we more or less were tilting towards expecting a decline, which would mark the third straight month of decline in inflation. I think for July, which we already have, June now that we have already, because it's July that will be released this morning. It was 15.68%, right? 15.91%. Yeah. And I know that we put out a story last week that was like a robust analysis that was done, predictive analysis by the team that showed that the expectation for inflation for July will be 15.51%. What are you guys expecting ahead of the official release this morning?
Okay, I should go first. All right. So I mean, in line with our forecasts, we expect the prices to taper off. We expect prices to continue downward trend, and as you've rightly said, that will be the third consecutive month of decline. So I mean, what are the major drivers? Number one is the base effects, and then of course we've seen a softer pricing in energy, though I mean it has been up and down, volatile, but of course it's moderating compared to the months earlier. So that would play a major role. And then of course energy prices going down, then food prices will also go down because they work hand in hand, because logistics and all of that. So we see inflation tilting towards downward trend, but that does not mean that prices are going to fall anyway. But
you see that generally,
it just means that there's going to be some sort of relief for households and
good.
So that's just pretty much it. Expecting.
One interesting thing happened last week. I mean, we reported and did some very good analysis on it about the Central Bank of Nigeria opening up the open market operations market to retail investors again after banning them, 7 years ago. And the way that all of the people that we spoke to, and even our in-house analysts, the way they interpreted that move was to say that the central bank is really worried about inflationary pressure that would be triggered by election spending, and they're thinking, you know what, let's find a way to mop up even more liquidity, because when you do that, then you're mopping up even more liquidity, because the retail investors that were before now unable to participate in the OMO market can now participate. And don't forget that the return or the yields on OMO bills, on a 1-year OMO bill, is typically higher than the return on a 1-year treasury bill. So you find a lot of money rotating there.
So that's I mean, I think it's a very brilliant move by the CBN, because again, as we move closer to election seasons, right, there's every likelihood that election spending, if you look at historical patterns in Nigeria's pre-election years, we've always discovered that election spending has always been a major driver for Nigeria's inflationary pressure, right? And now we are moving towards that. So it's a good thinking from the CBN to be proactive. Now, what effect will this have a big effect of slowing down the pace of inflation in this season? I mean, time will tell, the numbers will tell. So again, like my colleague here said, the likelihood of inflation lowering today is very high. But then again, for most Nigerians, their biggest concern is food prices, really. A lot of Nigerians want to see the price of egg, the price of milk, the price of basic household items. They want to see a slight drop, even a significant drop in the prices of these things.
Absolutely.
And so that's what matters to our readers. That's what matters to everyone on the streets. But then again, our view is if inflation numbers can moderate at a certain range, I think prices can also be stable. And if prices are stable, people can plan. People can do a long-term planning for their household budgets and what they would likely spend between now and December period. But my view is election is here again, and we should all just watch out for a clash between excess money, politicians coming out to spend, and then this new development by the CBN to open retail spending.
You know, that's one area where I don't think we appreciate it. I mean, one of the reasons why you have a disconnect between the macro gains that we're seeing as a result of the reforms and then the micro gains is because of inflation.
Of course.
True. And that's why most people, anywhere you go today, you talk about the economy is improving. They can't feel it in their pockets because of inflation. Their purchasing power has been battered because those reforms, what it did essentially was to absolutely decimate the purchasing power of the average Nigerian. So I think all hands really need to be on deck to ensure that we address this inflation crisis that we have on our hands. I mean, yes, we can say that inflation has declined. If you look at it relatively compared to 2 years ago, it's been declining now, 15%. But 15% is still high. You just need to compare with other African countries, and then you see that even that is still very high. We might be coming from a very high base, but 15 is still high. And until we bring that down to within single digits, people will still struggle to see the gains of any.
And I think this is where the fiscals needs to come in, right? The monetary guys they've showed up that this is what we can do. So this is where the Taiwo Oyedele, his ministry, which is not just the Minister of Finance for the economy as well, we need to find a way to ease the pressure of, my colleague talked about energy costs, transportation, one of the biggest driver of food inflation. Food inflation, of course, the biggest driver of the overall inflation. We need to find a way of putting interventions in that value chain of moving goods from food producing states to demand states that are of high demand when it comes to food products. Why? Because it is where those are the places that I feel that when the government talks about subsidy, those are the targeted areas where you should provide that kind of subsidy. Let it be targeted towards a specific value chain so that you can get the overall impact in terms of lower food prices. Because again, if you look at food, if transport costs, for instance, is eased by at least 50%, of course it will show up in your market prices. And I feel the federal government, through the Ministry of Finance, can do a lot across our value chain.
Agreed. You want to say something?
I mean, I wanted to say the fiscals and the monetary has to, continually
there needs to be alignment,
rub hands together. Because,
the monetary policy, monetary policy is running well ahead of fiscal policy.
Just like you mentioned, the open market operation thing. It's a proactive measure to tame inflation. So I mean, such measures have to be in place to ease pressures on the household, because obviously if you're saying GDP is up, inflation is going down, and macros are looking green, everything is good. If the pocket is not feeling it, then it's all just numbers.
Absolutely.
So I think there should be a lot of effort from the fiscal side to ease this pressure, and then of course election spending is here. So if all this policies by the CBN are follow through, then I think we should also see further declines in the coming months.
Great. All right, we'll wait and see what happens when the National Bureau of Statistics releases the inflation report for July this morning. But before we trash our very final topic, I think we should take a break at this point. Viewers, we'll be right back. And we're back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Business Week, as you know, on BusinessDay television. Gentlemen, so before we took that short break, we talked about inflation and expectations for that ahead of the official release this morning. We're going to pivot away from that quickly now to talk about the real elephant in the room. The dust has still not settled on the crisis facing Geregu Power PLC. I mean, it's a real big one. I know last week we talked about the same topic as well, but since then a lot more has happened. I mean, even Augusto and Co has since withdrawn their ratings for Geregu Power, but it's still raising a lot of dust in the market. People are asking questions about, there was some money that was supposed, over 30 billion that was supposed to be in an escrow account. It was nowhere to be found. There was a lawyer that made an appearance on Arise TV that seemed like he was on the side of Geregu Power and the new ownership, and then it was almost insinuating that the former ownership, the former leaders or management of the company actually managed the funds and then, took the funds out because the new management did not find any money in the account, which is, pretty ridiculous, because it then questions whether there was enough due diligence that was done and all of that. But you know that the bond market, I mean, typically the bond market is the largest in the world, right? It's larger than the equities market, and a lot relies on the bond market, especially in terms of how the kind of signal that a country sends to its economy. So all of this that's going on is really worrying, because if people don't have confidence in your bond market, you're as well as done. You're finished. So, Deepa, you want to give us some updates on what has happened in the course of the week with Geregu Power? Are we any closer to getting some sort of clarity around what really went wrong and why they missed that coupon payment of about 6 billion naira?
Yeah. So thanks. I mean, just like you said, a lot of things have changed from last week when we discussed the development here and then today. So what has changed? So what we did at BusinessDay today, our lead story today, we looked at how the journey started. We did what transpired before the default. And what you noticed is July 2022, the previous management of the board took the bond. Now, what was the purpose of the bond? The purpose of the bond was to buy a power plant from PPE. That was the sole. So they took that bond not as a working capital, but for a targeted purpose
acquisition
of acquiring. Now, fast forward to August 2023, they made a $4 million application to BPE, right? And then BPE did not approve.
So it didn't go through. Yeah.
Now,
they still had the money, the funds they had raised from the bond.
So what did they do? According to this Farouk Ahmed, who claimed he's a lawyer and who is on the side of claimed he's a party to this conversation, he claimed the money was set aside in an escrow account, yielding interest. Because again, you've collected the money, so yielding interest, and then the aim was, as the development is unfolding, keep using the interest on the bond to be servicing the debt obligation on the bond throughout the lifetime of the bond. Right? Now, when the new management came on board, they did their due diligence and they asked, oh, where is this money that was raised from bond to acquire certain assets? And they said, yes, that money existed in the escrow account. They did their due diligence, they found out that the money was truly there, which was why they went ahead to pay themselves dividend because they felt everything was looking good. When it's time to withdraw money from that account to meet their debt obligation, they discovered that the money was no longer there. Right? The previous management had withdrew the money and there was no money. And so the next question was, when they discovered there was no money, did they raise alarm or did they just kept quiet and swept it under the carpet and they're trying to manage it? Yeah, they said yes, they did raise alarm. Then the regulators were aware of the fact that money was kept in a certain account. They went there, then the money was no longer there.
But who are the custodians of that escrow account? When you raise a bond, this is not like walking into a bank to say I want to get a loan and then you were supposed to use it to get something and then, you know, along the line your plans change and then something else, you just use the money for something. No. When you're raising a bond, I mean, part of what you put, you state clearly your bond prospectus is use of proceeds, what you plan to use it for, and you better not deviate from that. Now, if this money was taken to make an acquisition which failed, and then it was put in an escrow amount yielding interest, and that interest was supposed to pay up for then where is the money? And don't forget that the new ownership made the very first payment in January.
Exactly.
So this is not, it's not like this, they're just about to start servicing this bond and then they realize no money there. So where did they get the money to make the first payment for January? And then what has happened between January and July? What happened between January and July that, you know, the funds all of a sudden nowhere to be found, disappeared. So how did they service the bond in January? How did they get the money?
I mean, I don't.
No, I get it. For sure, there are more questions than answers. But I know that, you know, at BusinessDay we speak to a lot of investors, and we've managed to uncover some of the big investors behind that fund. I won't mention the names of some of those investors now, but I've been speaking with quite a number of them, and they are really troubled.
Of course, I mean, everybody will be troubled because something has happened in 10 years, right? And this is the first time it's happening. Everybody will be like, okay, so what's next? What's happening? Was the regulator aware of all the developments in this case from the very beginning till this point? Was there any point, at what point did the regulator deem it fit to intervene? Is it after the bond default or before the bond default? Questions on
a lot of questions around who are the people managing the escrow account, where was the account, where exactly, which bank was housing the funds, and what is the role of the trustees as well in all of this. So there's so many questions.
And if the money was kept in one account, can the old previous management
just go access
to account? See, there's so many management.
So clearly, we have multiple questions that our show today would not permit us the time to really dig into. But we'll be back next week. We do hope that you enjoyed our serving for you today. We wish you a great business week and see you this time next week, Monday. Bye-bye.
Nigeria, a land of boundless energy, driven by the pulse of over 200 million dreams. At the heart of this momentum stands a giant, Seplat Energy, an indigenous powerhouse accounting for a vital share of Nigeria's oil and gas output, propelled by the historic acquisition milestone with the acquisition of ExxonMobil's onshore and shallow water assets, significantly expanding its production capacity and marking its entry into offshore operations. We are the engine of prosperity, Nigeria's leading domestic gas supplier with a total gas production output of 2.7 billion cubic feet, and the landmark Ano gas project delivering first gas. We have elevated our total processed gas output to 855 million standard cubic feet per day onshore. Indeed, we have brought domestic gas utilization to new heights, powering industries and securing energy for millions. But we are not just growing production, we're growing responsibly. By ending routine flares, we are decarbonizing our operations today to protect the Nigeria of tomorrow. Our reach is expanding. From offshore gas distribution to the growth of CNG for transport and industry, we are deepening our presence across the entire value chain. Our impact reaches the grassroots. Through innovative mini-grid projects, we are bringing clean, reliable energy to local communities, fueling economic empowerment where it's needed most. We are more than an energy company. We are a partner in progress, a leader in the energy transition, a giant rooted in Nigeria for Nigeria. Seplat Energy, leading Nigeria's energy transition, powering the future.
Every legacy has a beginning. Ours evolved. Built on trust and carried forward as a second-generation family legacy, Bemio has grown into Nigeria's largest cash-in-transit provider, trusted where precision and reliability matter most. But we are more than movement. We deliver protection at every level, from professional guarding to journey management to concierge services. And through Bemio Polo, we reflect the identity, heritage and standards we uphold. This is modern service. This is a legacy in motion. Bemio, your partner to safer living. Every legacy has a beginning. Ours evolved. Built on trust and carried forward as a second-generation family legacy, Bemio has grown into Nigeria's largest cash-in-transit provider, trusted where precision and reliability matter most. But we are more than movement. We deliver protection at every level, from professional guarding to journey management to concierge services. And through Bemio Polo, we reflect the identity, heritage and standards we uphold. This is modern service. This is a legacy in motion. Bemio, your partner to safer living. Every legacy has a beginning. Ours.
At Providus Bank, we're committed to your growth and success. You're never alone on the journey. Our personalized relationship banking is how we do things together. It's what sets us apart. We value every individual and partnership and treat them as such. We're committed to helping you grow and celebrating your success. This is your life story, your future, your forward. This is all about you. Let's move you forward. Providus Bank.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Dorin is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International News Media Association. All right, guys. and we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about business days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question. You'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
Welcome back to the Business Morning Live. And now you're just in time for the conversations. And our first conversation this morning, we're going to be looking at funding isn't scarce, investment readiness is, and what investors are looking for in African businesses. For years, access to funding has been one of the biggest challenges facing startups and SMEs across Africa. But while entrepreneurs continue to point to limited access to capital, investors are asking a different question. Are businesses actually investment ready? From proper financial records and strong governance to clear business models, scalability and the ability to demonstrate how capital will generate returns, securing funding is increasingly about more than having a good idea. So what does it really take for a Nigerian or African business to become investment ready? And are entrepreneurs doing enough to position themselves for the capital already available in the market? And to discuss this, we are being joined by Tamara Busibe. She's a CEO, ITIS Consolidated. Good morning, Tamara. It's good to have you.
Good morning, Deborah. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's start off with the central argument. I started off with funding isn't scarce, but investment readiness is. So speak to us about what exactly does investment readiness mean for an SME or a startup?
All right, very good question. Because I get this a lot. There's a disconnect really in the industry because investors are looking for the right businesses to fund, and founders are also looking for access to capital, right? So things like investment readiness could be something as simple as keeping proper financial records,
Right.
which I have come to see with a lot of founders, right? It's just something as simple as, okay, you don't have proper financial records, and even with the internet, with digitization, these have become easier. So things like that. Investment readiness could also mean having a well-crafted story, right? So what is your business about? Why are you doing this business in the first place? I mean, if people can easily follow your storyline and know, okay, this is where you currently are, and this is where you are going, and an investor can easily see that, okay, this is the gap that can be solved with funding, right? You are in a much better place to access funding.
All right. One of the things we hear entrepreneurs say is, I need funding. I'm looking for funding. Whenever you go for, especially corporate events, it is, looking for investors who would fund their businesses. But from an investor perspective, what makes a business fundable in the first place?
Thank you. So something as simple as a tight story, like I shared earlier, something as simple as numbers, having proper numbers, right? For instance, a lot of founders have not asked themselves, okay, this funding I'm about to get, what exactly am I using this to do? What impact is this business, is the funding going to have on my business, right? Can you properly present that, right? So once you have a tighter story, you're in a much better position.
So what red flags do investors see? Break it down to us when they access Nigerian, startups.
All right, thank you. So things like an inconsistent storyline. For instance, now you claimed money came in from where? Okay, where's this money coming from? Things like that, right? Are usually flagged when investors are doing things like due diligence, right? So yeah, things like those kind of things. Not having domain expertise. Domain expertise also really means do you know this work? Do you know the job? Something as simple as that. So yeah, so inconsistent stories, inconsistent financials, right? And not having good domain expertise.
So let's talk about financial record and corporate governance and transparency. How important is this, when a business is seeking investment?
It is important because if money is coming into your business, right, you need to see you need to see a track record, right? What has been done, how this has gone, right? Your numbers should be able to tell a story, tell the proper story of your business,
right?
Right. So yes.
Okay. So do you think a business can be too early? Because this is one of the most questions that small businesses and startups want to want answers to. Do you think a business can be too early, too small, or too formal to attract serious investment?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. It can be too ready in the sense that you've not had enough time to validate your business model and see how well this can go. Right, when starting a business, understand that sometimes your model can change. Right, you can start with one idea and realize that okay, this is a much better fit for this business eventually, right, and change, right. So sometimes you are too early, right. You need to be able to test and validate your business model first.
Right. So how can a business ready themselves not to look too small? Because it's not my fault. My idea came when it came. So what can I do to get myself investment ready?
All right, thank you for that question. Very important question, actually. So start by first of all tracking your numbers.
Right.
Let's see what exactly this business doing. What is it worth? Right. So start by that. Then start by telling your story to the world. I have come across several. In my line of work, I've come across several startups and business owners, right? And they're doing such a great job. And they're like, okay, why are you not getting the funding you need? It could just be something as simple as you don't have a proper story. Nobody really understands you, the impact of your work, and what you are doing. So you can start by doing those things, and yes, you'll be in much better position.
So having a proper story is the same as pitching, right? Is this the same thing or they're different?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so what is a pitch deck? And I ask because they say many entrepreneurs are spending more time on their speech instead of having to fix the fundamentals of the business. So how do you think that can be fixed? Explain to us what a pitch deck is first, and how entrepreneurs can actually perfect their pitches. Or they are perfecting their pitches, but they're not looking at the fundamentals of their business. So explain to us how, they can strike a balance in that, having a good pitch and also looking at the fundamentals of your business and making sure that, it is investment ready.
All right, thank you. So that's a multifaceted question. So I'm going to start by saying that your story should precede your pitching. So pitching is just one part of it, right? But even before you have stood in front of investors to say yes, give me money and so on, so right, you should have been building a track record somewhere, right? You should have been building your storyline somewhere. Something as simple as doing press releases, for instance, something I tell my founders, right? And so people can get to know you and just follow your story, right? So when you are standing in front of investors to pitch, it's like, okay, yes, I have seen these guys in this these publications. I understand what they are doing. I see how important their work is, right? So yes, and also the second part of that question, right, about how important a pitch deck is. A pitch deck is good, and I'm saying this as somebody who has reviewed hundreds of pitch decks over the past 8 to 9 years of running this, right? A pitch deck is important, but that's not the only thing that you should be doing. You should be working on your business. Spend more time building your business. Spend more time improving your business model, right? Spend more time if you need to even expand the team, reach your customers, do those things, right? And you can now use your pitch deck to coordinate the story, right? That's okay, yes, this is why we need so and so, this is why we need this funding, right? So you're just in a much better position once you fix the fundamentals.
So we understand that capital is actually a major concern for business. That's why we're here, right? Now, do you think those entrepreneurs should start looking beyond traditional bank loans and start looking at, investors, angel investors, venture capital, or private equity? Or do you have like an alternative financing that they can actually look into?
Okay, so I think that we are especially in Nigeria, we're at a privileged time where there's now more access to different kinds of capital. I mean, think about 10, 15, 20 years ago, venture capital was not really as popular as it was now, right? So yes, there are different forms of financing, but understand that not every business is a right fit. Understand the right, or let me put it this way, understand the right kind of capital for your business. For instance, now not every business can be venture backable, right? Because these guys are looking for 10 to 20x returns, and sometimes your SME, profitable SME, will not be a good fit for it. So understanding that kind of capital understand the kind of capital your business needs helps. And also I've seen, in recent years, I've also seen very creative ways where founders have tried to raise funds, in the sense that they raised from family and friends, said, okay, look, I'm trying to build this. This is the fundamentals of the business. If you're able to, I can sell you a portion or a stake on the business for so and so amount. People have been very creative, so you don't have to always wait for the traditional type of, financing that's available for you to raise the funds needed to move your business forward.
So do you think there's like a disconnect between what African investors or founders believe investors want, or rather than what they're actually like looking for? Do you think there's like a disconnect?
Yes, there is, and that's why I've spent I think the last 8 to 9 years of my life trying to support founders to understand and bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, there is a disconnect in the sense that investors are looking for things. For instance, that they have a thesis. A thesis is, okay, this is the kind of business we are looking to fund. This is, this is what we are looking for, right? And what's happening is there's the mismatch, in the sense that we're not having a lot of founders that can fit those theses, right? So yes, there is a disconnect, right?
Okay.
But how can this gap be bridged? It's on both the investor side, things like education, things like coming closer to founders, and also on the founder side, where you have to do the work of putting your business and yourself out there, right? Validating your business model, having those conversations with your team, and things like that, to make sure you are in the best position.
So speak to us about the role that founders themselves play in attracting investment. Do you think a strong founder can compensate for weaknesses in the business?
That's an interesting question. So can a strong founder compensate for the weaknesses in the business? So the thing is almost a chicken and egg situation, because you need to have a good business, and of course the founder, that's the leader, whoever is heading that business and steering the business, also needs to be in a good place, right? So it's chicken and egg situation, right? But for things like investors, right, you are looking for a proper, solid business model. You're also looking at the founder, because if founder can steer things right, things will be great, right? So I think that's really a chicken and egg situation, where yes, a founder will want to work on improving the business model, but sometimes things like markets downturns, things like economic crisis could also impact how far the business can go, right? But a good founder will be able to steer that and pivot.
Right. Yeah. So you've spent 8 to 9 years doing what you do. Amazing. But speak to us about the biggest investment readiness gap that you think should be addressed when it comes to the Nigerian startup and SME ecosystem.
Thank you. So I think it still boils down to what we shared earlier, right? Things like not having proper financials. You'll be surprised about businesses that are doing millions, hundreds of millions, and billions in revenue, and still don't even have proper bookkeeping. Like it's a bit weird, but yeah. So those things could be fixed, just to address that gap. Things like your story, for instance. Now, I'm going to share a few billionaires that we had in Nigeria today, right? They're looking to raise capital for some of the biggest projects, right? You could see them, they were still going, having things like press releases. They were still, sharing about their business, going there, because what that was doing was crafting a narrative, right, about how the business should be perceived. So those are things that you can do as a founder to bridge that gap.
Okay, all right. So if a founder is watching right now, because I'm sure there are some watching us this morning, how do you think they can become investment ready in the next 6 to 12 months?
6 to 12 months, start by crafting a narrative of your business. How do you want your business to be perceived, right? Then that's the first thing. So work on that, right? So strengthen your business model. Then I'll say your numbers, which is very important, right? If you are able to tell a story of your business with your numbers, you can justify, the reason for, okay, you need more investment and things like that. So I think those two things, right? Then also strengthening your team. As your business is growing, your team also, you need to, invest in a proper team that can work with you to steer that business. So those are the 3 things I think you can do, right, to be investment ready in 6
All right, so that simply means if I get a good story that is sellable, I'm definitely going to get funded.
Definitely. We always deal with probabilities here, but you will be in a better position if you're able to get those things right.
All right. Thank you very much, Tamara. It was really good to have you on the Business Money Life.
It was my pleasure, Deborah. Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be speaking to Tamara Pasibi. She's the CEO ITERS Consolidated. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be having the second part of our conversation this morning. Just stay with us.
Pleasure of welcoming great support supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Dorin is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about business days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to huge organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Dorin is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about business days. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to huge organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought
Behind the headline, I am Deborah Eze. Nigeria's cash transfer program was designed as a critical social protection tool for millions of vulnerable households, particularly as the cost of living crisis continued to put pressure on low-income families. But a new analysis by BusinessDay raises questions about whether the program is reaching those it was designed to protect. While government has expanded the National Social Register and made billions of naira available through the National Cash Transfer Program, there remains a significant gap between identifying vulnerable Nigerians and actually getting payment to them. So behind the headline, the question is, has Nigeria cash transfer reform truly delivered meaningful protection for the poor? Or is the country still struggling with the last mile of implementation? And joining us is Dr. Oluwatobi Ojabello. He's the Assistant Editor, Economy and Markets at the BusinessDay. Good morning.
Good morning,
Dr. Ojabello. It's good to have you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's look at your headline. Very captivating headline. Genuine Rich, Unfinished Protection. Right. So speak to us about the biggest gaps between the number of Nigerians identified as the beneficiaries as against those that are actually receiving payment.
Technically, according to the Minister of Human Affairs and Poverty Reduction in Nigeria, as of January 2025, so it is close that 19.8 million Nigerians registered. But there is a process. When you registered, does not mean you will be paid.
Okay.
So when you registered, they will validate your registration. After the validation, then you get paid. So based on his disclosure, in that the same year, only 1.2 million were validated and only 1.2 million were paid. But as of now, their analysis shows that from their report, official data, shows that the 1.2 that were validated is now 9.8.
Okay.
Meaning that there is a substantial acceleration in the number of validation, but there's still gap
between the 19.8 that registered and the 19.8 that have been paid.
Right. So that brings me
That's
to
close to like 10 million households.
Yeah, because the government has actually, you know, invested heavily in the social register, right?
Exactly.
So why is there still a disparity amongst the actual payment of this million of vulnerable, you know, households?
So that is the main reason why we do advise government sometimes that they should ensure the name of those people that have registered, the name of those people that have been validated, the name of people that have been paid are being published. So when people see, people will complain, people will be able to talk that what is happening, what causes this gap. Government has spent close to 700 billion. So on this program, many people, but unfortunately, just 19.8 million, only 9.2 million household has been taken care of. So what happened to the rest? Why is the ministry? Why is the ministry? Are they constrained by payment from the federal government? No, there might be some behind the scene analysis that we don't know. So, but if there is a publications, then we can see what causes the gap between those people registered and those that have been paid.
Right. So your report highlights, you know, concerns around validation, payments records, and most importantly, transparency, like you've explained now. So how much of this is an administrative challenge, and how much points to the deeper weakness in, you know, Nigeria's social protection system?
You see, if I get you right, are you talking that in terms of quantitative data or qualitative data?
Quantitative data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question?
So I said your report actually highlighted the issue of validation, payment, and transparency.
Yeah.
Now, all of this problem now, do you think is an administration issue, or is just because Nigeria has a weak social protection system?
You know, there is always first order condition and second order condition. When there is a weak institutions, so the first one is weak institution.
Okay.
So when there is a weak institution, you don't expect their operation to be efficient. The regulators are weak, so you're expecting those people that the regulators are meant to watch to perform. So the institution is weak.
Right.
So when the institution is weak, you don't expect a great performance.
Right.
So that's just it.
So it's not an administration
problem. It's not an institution.
All right. Now let's look at Nigeria's poverty rate. Now it has continued to rise and rise and rise despite the expansion of the social program that you said the government has spent billions of naira on.
Yes.
Now, do you think this, you know, suggests that cash transfers are simply not, you know, sustainable enough to make a meaningful difference, you know, to household welfare?
Thank you very much. That's an intelligent question.
Yeah.
You see, well, there is in econometrics. Sorry, let me digress a little. There's what we call correlations, but correlation is not causality. The fact that A and B are correlated does not mean that A cause B or B cause A.
Right.
Did you get it? Now, so when it talks about poverty level in Nigeria, you can see from 2023, according to the World Bank publication, poverty rate was 56%. Now, 56% of Nigerians are poor. In 2024, the data shows that it increases by 5%, making 61%. Now, in 2025, the data also shows that there's an increment of 2%. Now, when you look at it, 56%, 61%, the margin 5%. 2025, 63, the margin 2. It is increasing, but at a marginal rate.
Right.
It is increasing, truly, but it's reduced in terms of margin. So, and what you see, cash transfer is one of the methods to cushion the effect of shock.
Okay.
But that is not the only way, because poverty is not only measured by only food. According to multi-poverty index. So that's why you cannot say that multi-dimensional poverty index. It is not only food. We have to factor what happens to education, what happens to health, not only by consumption. So what government should have done, because a lot of people, when you look at the data of the poverty, the rate it is increasing, and the amount government have spent on social transfer, you think that there is a paradox. I've spent more to cushion effect, yet poverty increases. So that call for an attention. That call for attention. So what it should have done is that there's, even in that process, there's what we call monitored. The evidence of that monitor is to see what did they use the money for.
Right.
As the money given to them, does it change anything?
So what do you think, what mechanism can be put in place so that these monies can get to who, the right beneficiaries, and how can people cross-check that so money got to who the money is intended for?
That is it. I've said it all. So one of the factors that we can see that also contributed to that increase in poverty is maybe the money did not get to the right source. So what can they do? The first thing they need to do is to publish the data they have gathered. Let us see the data, because as far as I'm concerned, I've never seen someone who say he has received the money before.
Right.
And I stay in Ogun
State.
To
ask you that.
Yes, I stay in Ogun State.
Okay.
And the part of Ogun State I stay is is a rural part where you see poverty, you see people who really need help. But unfortunately, I've never heard from anybody.
Right. Right.
So despite 19.8 and over 140 million of Nigeria are poor, I selected 19.8 registered, published 19.8.
So do you think political interference are actually, interfering when it comes to or influencing the registration of these people?
No, I will not be deterministic.
Okay.
Because I don't have that data. But technically, you cannot remove political influence from economic benefits.
Right.
There is no way.
Okay.
Political come first, economic second. So you cannot remove political interest. So some people are politically willing to see how the money is spent, and they are politically willing that the money should be channeled more to their community rather than other community.
Right.
So you cannot remove that effect from the analysis. But I will not be deterministic. Why? Because I don't have data to substantiate that point. But I'm very sure there should be an element of political factor.
Right. Looking at your report now, it says 75,000 naira per household in 3 tranches.
25.
Do you think that amount is sustainable to provide, meaningful food relief? Let's even call it relief, meaningful relief. Do you think that's...
You see, one of the challenges I do have with Nigerians is they talk about quantity first without talking about process.
Right.
Let us see how the 1 naira you are distributing. Let us see, does it work? Before we talk about the increment in the value, the 75 they are paying in charges, only 9.2 has received it. So we are saying, the question is, let us see those people that have benefited, those people that have not benefited. Let us see, let them come out to the TV station. Let us see how benefited. These are the things people want to see. We cannot be talking about the money is okay, the money is not okay. Now, the first question is, those people that are giving the money, are they the real people?
Right.
Let us see the process. Someone is saying that, although to some extent now Nigeria is improving in terms of data collection.
Yeah, because I was going to say, with the use of BVN name, it should be...
Nigeria is improving, having OPCT, is the very good one. You don't just come to the air and criticize government. No. You see, these people are also putting effort to ensure things are done properly. But when the institutions are weak, there's nothing you can do. So I will not really comment. When we talk about, when you look at the cost of living in Nigeria now, even 750 is not enough. 750,000 naira. There was a story I did some times ago.
Yes.
So the 750,000 wasn't enough. But the question is, let us see the flow. Let us see those people that are poor, that are receiving it. Then we can now write, okay, government, we need to step up. But when there is a constraint in the flow, we are not talking about increasing it again. Don't you see that you are increasing it to benefit some other?
True. So that brings me to my next question. Do you think that Nigeria can realistically run a good social protection system?
Yes. You see, in reality, when Nigeria government want to do things, they do it well. when they don't want to do it, you will see all hands. You will see their hands. When the Nigerian government want to do, they want to ensure, okay, what really cost them to do it?
Nothing at all.
It cost them nothing. Here is the country that I will see. You have TIN number, you have NIL, you have VVN, and those things does not really show the number of people that are really there. Another number is too consumed. Many number, no transparency.
Right.
What are we using TIN for? There's BVN, there's NIL. Maybe they will come again and say you go and build WWE or AAA. Let's have known. It's sufficient to show. So when they press that one, show everything about you. Remember, we want to incentivize, we want to do this. This is not too much. So it will not cost Nigeria realistically based on our resources, but because of political interests. You know, when all these data are there to manipulate some elections, all these things. So those guys, but the Nigerian politicians are very smart. They see beyond, you know, okay, we should publish everything, we should give you the number of this, we should give you this. Don't you know that they can track this based on the election? So that's why I said when the institution is weak, you don't expect anything, you don't expect efficacy in the operation of those entities that the institution are meant to watch.
Right. So finally, Dr. Ojabelo, what do you think it would take to move Nigeria's cash transfer program from just simply reaching people, but to, you know, provide, to protect, you know, against poverty and also economic shocks?
I've told you, there will always be economic shocks, right? Because Nigeria operates a small open economy where we export, we import. So that there will not be shock. No, that one is not possible. And so what government just needs to do in this case is to ensure that they monitor those people the money is given to. When you monitor them, you will be able to know when to review the amount you are giving them. That's why some people will say that, why is government not paying maximum wages?
Okay.
Why do they pay minimum wage? Now, if government pay maximum wage and there is a shock, we don't do that maximum wage. So we cannot pay maximum and not increase it.
Well said, Ojabelo. Thank you very much for your time. All right, we'll be speaking to Dr. Oluwatobi Ojabelo. He's the Assistant Editor, Economy and Markets at BusinessDay. Of course, the conversation doesn't end here. We've examined the key issues. We also explored the context and unpacked what the developments mean going forward. Thank you for watching. I am Deborah Eze. Join us next time on Behind the Headlines.
Significantly higher capital requirement under the new regulatory framework. But raising the money is only the first part of the story. The bigger test is what happens next. Does stronger capital translate into stronger insurers, better claims paying capacity, and greater confidence in the industry? And could this exercise also leave a smaller, more concentrated market with the implications for competition and for consumers? With the recapitalization deadline now behind us, what has actually changed in Nigeria's insurance industry and what comes next? Well, joining me this morning is Mrs. Ebele Nwachukwu. She's the chairman of the Nigeria Insurance Association and also the managing director at Rex Insurance. She joins us now on Business Morning Live. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Mrs. Nwachukwu.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. It's good to see you this morning. Now, let me start by talking about the recapitalization deadline, which has now passed. Now, from the industry's perspective, what does the insurance landscape look like today compared with where it was before this exercise began?
Thank you very much. So I think the most important change is that we've moved from capital adequacy, or the conversation on capital adequacy, to a conversation on capacity and sustainability. Before this exercise, the industry had already started to build a lot of momentum to write larger risks. We already started building also larger premiums. In year 2025, The industry recorded premium growth in excess of 47.5%, where about 68% of that was retained locally. And gives us the capacity to do even more, on the journey that we have been on as an industry.
Right. Now, we know that the whole objective was to create a stronger and more resilient insurers. Are we already seeing evidence that this additional capital is improving underwriting capacity and the ability to take on larger risks?
Well, the exercise we just completed, so we cannot attribute, we can say yes, that we're beginning to see that the industry has greater capacity. We have raised a significant amount of capital. But like I said, earlier, we had already started to build a lot of capacity in terms of the underwriting of larger risks. We have started to write bigger risk and retain the same locally. So the capital, that we have now and NIRA is only going to help us to build additional capacity, improve our risk management capabilities, improve our underwriting discipline. Risk management is just going to go higher. So the industry is changing from being a small, let me say, relatively small player in the financial services sector to becoming a major contributor to what happens, in the financial sector. So yes, we have begun to see a difference. We've begun to think about things differently, more importantly. And we are ready for the opportunities that NIRA has given us and the opportunities that our ability to raise capital has also presented to the industry.
Right. You rightly have spoken about raising capital, which could also come with pressure on businesses to actually grow quickly and generate returns. Now, is there a risk that the insurers could actually become more aggressive in chasing market share rather than becoming more disciplined in how they underwrite risk?
I must tell you that risk exists significantly because now we're all thinking about returns to our shareholders and those that have invested in the industry. But we must guard against that as an industry, and the NIA will support the process for self-regulation very seriously. We must build a stronger, more resilient industry. We must maintain underwriting discipline, risk-based pricing, appropriate reserving, reinsurance, and strong governance as an industry. So yes, there's a need to compete, but we want to compete on the basis of service, on the basis of innovation, and not price. So there'll be a risk to do that, to just be a bit reckless, but I think we will control ourselves, and that's why the NIA exists, to provide those frameworks to guard against the desire or the temptation, to do that, So yes, we will compete, we will be under pressure to grow, but we do that in a very structured and disciplined manner, maintaining underwriting discipline, more importantly. Risk-based pricing, very, very important at this point. We're also moving to risk-based capital. The minimum capital requirement, recapitalization, is just the foundation of what NIRA is requiring of us. We're then going to move to risk-based capital, which means that your capital, the capital that you hold, the business that you write must, be in collaboration or must corroborate with the capital that you have. So if you begin to write recklessly, then the regulator will keep requiring, different levels of capital from you. And that is something that we must guard against, and we must approach in a very disciplined manner.
And consolidation was always expected to be a part of this process. What does a potentially smaller number of stronger insurers mean for competition and for the pricing and ultimately the consumer?
Oh, well, yes, consolidation was always expected, and what it means is that governance will actually be a little bit, will be improved, will be better, to cooperate as an industry, as an association. It also means that we can do a lot more together. It also means that we can do a lot more together. the insurance industry has always worked in a very consolidated manner, you know, accepting risk and writing risk together. So having a smaller number of players, you know, would make that even stronger for the industry.
Let's now talk about claims, because that's where the average Nigerian actually experiences insurance. I mean, I being one of the consumers now, how much should a customer expect to see improved claim settlement and service as a result of this recapitalization that's now been done?
Well, I think that claims are going to be. I mean, claims have always been a focus for us, you know, as an industry. In the 2025, the industry paid over 300 billion in claims. And, you know, these claims are also paid promptly across different segments. You know, it's different segments of the economy, from oil and gas to individuals. Lots of claims were reported, substantiated, and paid. With additional capital, this is just going to further drive the ability of all players to pay claims and pay them promptly. You know, payment of claims also, sometimes the process is elongated, and that is what challenges some insureds. But with technology now becoming a strong part of what we are doing with recapitalization, the engagement of technology, and showing strong digital power, you know, and using artificial intelligence to adjust our claims, we're just going to see the claims process improve significantly. The insurance industry has been very, very committed to payment of claims. And one of the things we're going to try to do also from the platform of the NIA is talk about the claims that we pay, because we pay these claims and we pay them, you know, quietly. But I think we have to provide platforms where we talk about how much claims we pay and talk about the claims experiences and actually have customers. We see that on individual companies' platforms where individuals give testimonials of their experiences. So with NORA, and with this additional capital, claims is a focus. You know, paying claims quickly, consumer protection is a great focus for the regulator. The NIA also mediates when the customer is not satisfied with his claims process. So I think that claims are just going to be paid very quickly in a very structured manner with NORA, with capital, and with how the regulator and the NIA are approaching consumer experience and yes, consumer satisfaction.
But you know, there's a lot of conversation and a question about insurance penetration. We can have better capitalized companies, but if too few Nigerians and businesses are buying insurance, the industry still has a problem. What needs to change on the demand side?
So yes, we have seen a lot of growth and engagement with commercial business, corporate business. You know, a lot of the corporate entities insure their risks. But when we start to come down to the SMEs and the individuals, we don't see that same engagement happening. So the insurance industry, like I mentioned a little earlier, is engaging with a lot of technology. You know, technology, product innovation, product governance, and a very strong drive to improve awareness. Awareness not just in terms of the product, but also in terms of diversifying channels through which, you know, people can engage with the product. You know, we have lots of programs already where we, you know, showcase our products and showcase our capacities, you know, and we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to do that to improve penetration, diversify the products, engage with customers and build products that suit their need. You know, we want to de-risk this economy, so we're going to be paying a lot of attention to product development, using technology to drive how people engage from start to finish, from how they buy the product to how these, you know, claims are settled. This is going to be a very strong focus for us. So we think penetration will improve. We think we can move insurance from the corporate to the SMEs, to the individuals, to families, and we're going to concentrate a lot as an industry to make sure that this happens.
All right, Mrs. Owachuka, let's also talk about the new framework which we see moves the industry toward risk-based capital. What does this change practically for insurers, and how should it affect the way they assess and price risk?
So like risk-based capital really is that the capital that you have, must be adequate for the risk that you underwrite. And like I said, the capital that we have raised, the minimum capital is the minimum. A lot of framework is coming from the regulator, a lot of guidance on how this is going to be approached, risk-based capital. When you write larger risk, then you need to increase your capital, so there's going to be risk-based capital and there's just going to be minimum capital. Minimum is minimum, which means that what you are writing is just basic. But as you begin to write larger risks, as you begin to write more specialized risk, there will be a requirement for you to increase your capital, to match the risk that you underwrite. I think that's great for the industry. I think that what is going to foster is a lot of professionalism. A lot of professionalism, a lot of professionalism in specific products. So which means that if you want to write oil and gas business, for example, you will build capacity, you will build a lot of capacity, you build a lot of capital, to do that. Just everyone will just not be doing exactly the same thing. Risk-based capital will help us further drive penetration because it will help all the companies focus on areas where they have specialization. So we look forward to that regime. Like I said, capital raising was the foundation for us. We're moving to risk-based. We're thinking about it. We're creating the framework to make this extremely successful, and we're going to build specialization, as we go along, to guide the risk-based capital regime that we're going into now.
Now we've spoken about the risk-based capital. Another concern in any recapitalization exercise is actually what happens to the shareholders and the investors. Would you say, or can I ask you, if the capital requirement made the sector more attractive to the serious long-term investors, or if it has raised the cost of staying in business?
Interestingly, there's always been a lot of interest in the insurance industry, and this NERA Act has increased that interest significantly. And that is one momentum that we're going to, continue to sustain. The minimum capital requirements, I think we raised over 42% of the capital raised. 42% as fresh capital, from the market. There was a lot of interest in the industry. We saw the price of insurance stock go up, in the stock market, and a lot of improvement, a lot of interest, both from global partners and very excitingly, from the local market, from Nigeria itself, lots of investors wanting to come on board the insurance industry. We think this is going to continue. And like I said earlier, the challenge for the operators now is really how to make sure that we return, the ROE, the return on equity, is one that keeps the investors interested. Investors are interested in how they come into any business, how the business grows, and how they exit, the business when they want to do that. So the insurance industry, I think, is positioned with this process now to continue to attract shareholders, keep the shareholders and the investors that we have, because we're going to have better returns to their investments in us. And that's going to happen. That's just the interest was significantly great, and one that shows us that the industry has reached a point where it will begin to really contribute to what the economy needs it to do, de-risk this economy and help us achieve the $1 trillion economy that we're looking forward to as a nation.
Right. We're truly looking forward to this $1 trillion economy. But as we look beyond recapitalization, where do you see some of the biggest growth opportunities for us? Is it retail insurance? Is it agriculture? Is it health? Is it infrastructure? Which are some of these areas that you're seeing some of the biggest growth opportunities, and what are some of the emerging risks around climate and technology that you see?
That's a broad question. So yes, we will see growth across all the business, all the sectors. So the retail is a focus. Like I said, the commercial has been doing pretty well. Has been in existence, but the retail, we're going to see growth in that retail space. We've also seen a growth in the agricultural space, with insurance providing cover to farmers and farming activities across Nigeria, and providing some guidance in terms of how weather impacts, the different seasons that we see in the agricultural sector. So we will see growth across all the sectors. Engagement with technology is also going to help us deepen how we engage across, the sectors. Emerging risks, we are looking at those cyber, the electric vehicles that we now see in our market, agriculture, using different methods, livestock, and different types, different segments of the agribusiness. So we see the growth happening across all sectors, but the focus on retail is going to be significantly higher, because that is where the growth needs to happen. The growth needs to happen with retail, the growth needs to happen with the SMEs, the growth needs to happen with all individuals engaging with the insurance industry and having the products that specifically address the needs that they have. So with recapitalization, we have the opportunity to build and create lots of products and create lots of channels and create lots of engagements across the Nigerian economy to make sure that insurance plays the role that it should play in all sectors.
Now, if you look at this conversation 2 or 3 years from now, what would convince you that this recapitalization exercise was successful? And I'm not talking about simply because insurers meet a capital threshold, but because Nigerians have greater confidence in insurance. What would assure you or tell you that, indeed, the recapitalization exercise was successful?
We've always, we've had, rightly or wrongly, trust deficits in the insurance sector. So in 2 to 3 years, we would see that trust deficit improve. We'll see people have more faith in the insurance industry. We'll see an insurance industry that is extremely vibrant, where the regulator is actually just doing its work and the industry is self-regulating itself, doing the right things, underwriting in a disciplined manner, paying claims very promptly, consumer confidence going up. One of the things that NERA also has provided is the Policyholders Protection Fund, where, a fund is set aside for any insurance company that's not able to meet its obligations. So we see an industry that is completely vibrant, an industry that is returning, giving great returns to its shareholders, is playing its role in the economic sector. In 2 to 3 years, we'll be discussing a very different insurance industry. And I dare say that capital would also be higher than the minimum, across this market, because as the potentials are deployed, as the potentials are explored, more and more, capital will come in to enable us to do more than we are currently doing. We see technology playing a great role in the insurance sector, over the next couple of years, and we see claims paid very, very promptly. Diversified products, diversified channels, a vibrant talent base, so you see lots of young people also, because we're going to be building a lot of talent, there'll be a lot of interest in the industry from, young people going out, stepping out of school, making insurance a career. I see a very, very, very bright future for the insurance industry in Nigeria following this exercise.
Right, thank you very much, Mrs. Ebele Nwachukwu, Chairman, Nigeria Insurance Association, and also Managing Director, Rex Insurance. Thank you for joining us this morning on Business Money Live. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And we look forward to more engagements. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
And of course, we'll be sparking conversations, then we're bringing it to you. Sit. Welcome to the social listening segment, where we bring you the stories, debate, and moments generating conversations across social media. I am Deborah Eze. And now let's get into what's making waves online. For the first conversation today, Minister of Works, Senator David Umahi, has declared that the people of Southeast must vote for President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 general elections. Umahi said the zone must know that Southeast votes alone can't produce the president of the country. If they vote for Nigeria Democratic Congress NDC presidential candidate Peter Obi, and that they shouldn't waste their votes. Umahi said the region needs to appreciate the president through their votes for massive infrastructures in the area under his administration. Let's see the video.
Southeast must vote for President Bola Tinubu 2027. Southeast must know that our vote alone cannot make our brother, His Excellency, Peter Obi, to be president. No, we have to be strategic. And for those that misunderstand us, His Excellency Peter Obi is my friend, my colleague. We been governors. It might be a senior one, but governor is governor. And we also contested the presidential intention together. You didn't get, I didn't get. But, I'm happy, for the president I serve now that got it. So, and automatically by the reason of what he's doing all over the country, I continue to say to the people of Southeast, I'm on the ballot. I'm on the ballot because the ballot is about democracy. The ballot is about what you bring for your people. And I have a bragging right to the glory of God.
And it keeps getting interesting. But let's take a look at how netizens are reacting to this story. Now, the first reaction from Steve, and Steve said, "Oga Minister, please focus on your work. PO this and that. Rather, talk about the achievements of the APC government and what you have done to convince the masses to vote for Tinubu." Another reaction from Agua Viva, and he or she said, "Peter Obi is a pan-Nigerian candidate. Every region is voting for him. How many states he won in 2023? Was it the Igbo that voted for him in those states?" Another reaction from Tayo Osibia, and he said, This is democracy where people should determine who to vote for. You can't be telling people of Southeast that they must vote PBAT. You can only speak for yourself. If PBAT has truly done well, the Nigerians will be willing to vote him or another presidential candidate. And from Nelson Fizo, and he said, for me, it's the boldness David Umahi has come up publicly to say how they want to rig the 2027 election. If our vote alone can't make our candidate win the presidential election, what else will other than rigging the election? Will I call this a campaign? Of course, it's definitely a campaign, but I'm just going to say something very simple. I don't think having to influence who the people will vote because you don't think their vote will, their vote is enough to make Peter Obi president. I think that's really not the way to go about it. Like one of the netizens said, you can actually ask people to vote for your preferred candidate by highlighting the things that, the administration has done and give people reasons why you think, your preferred candidate should be the one to be voted for. Because we can as well say, okay, instead of we, giving out our vote to the other candidate because you think our vote cannot make our own preferred candidate president, then why don't your own preferred candidate add his own vote to our own? Do you get? So that's another way of seeing it. So just highlight the achievement of your government. You can't want people's votes because that's what it means. You want people to vote for this person without then having to talk about what the government has done or what the government actually plans to do. Nigerians are increasingly asking questions about, the economy, security, jobs, infrastructure, and most importantly, the cost of living. So you having to talk about counting of votes rather than counting of achievements. That is rather very alarming, especially coming from a minister like yourself. So it's very simple. What are the achievements that your candidates, what has he achieved in, what has the administration achieved, rather than telling people that you don't have to vote a certain kind of person. I don't think influencing how people should, or who people should vote, is actually the right way to go. Anyways, on the second conversation today, the police command in Kogi has arrested a 33-year-old man, Jacob Irawa, for allegedly attempting to set his wife ablaze during a domestic dispute. The incident occurred on Friday, August 14th at Ower Estate, Felele, Lokoja, according to the police public relations officer Afusat Saliu, an assistant superintendent of police. Saliu, in a statement on Sunday in Lokoja, said the victim, Berida Irawo, sustained injuries and was receiving treatment at Oni Gold Hospital, Felele. Let's take a look at the video.
Let me see your face. What is your name?
My name is Jacob.
Jacob what?
Irewa.
Huh?
Irewa.
Irewa, where are you living? Which work are you doing?
I'm a teacher.
Teacher? Which school?
I left Irawo.
Huh?
I left Irawo. To Glorious Faith. Glorious Faith Secondary.
Okay.
But we are on vacation.
Okay. And also,
I'm a pastor.
You are a pastor?
I'm a reverend.
Huh? Reverend. What is the name of your church? Name of your church?
Currently, I'm attending Living Faith Church. But God give me the mandate that I will serve Him. I will have my own church in the nearest future. I don't know.
Okay, now, okay, calm down, please.
How he boldly said he's a pastor for me. Anyways, let's take a look at how netizens are reacting to this story. And the first one from Alex, and he said, no matter how a woman upsets, frustrates, or annoy you, never react according to your anger. It is better you walk away with the pain in your heart. It will be a gain to you than the unrepairable regret this particular man is feeling right now. Another reaction from Ade, and she said, if you know you have anger issues, you should not have a partner who is vindictive. If you do, your house will boil, because both of you will keep seeking for revenge and picking offenses on each other as a revenge bait until someone gets terribly hurt or dead. Very sad. Another reaction from Active Priska, and she said, it's always on their faces, yet women ignore it. How would you marry someone who looks like this? Evil. I'm sure that he must have been showing anger issues signs, but she ignored. Another reaction from Mazi Okuoman said, this man passed 3 years now. This is devastating. Domestic dispute should never escalate violence, let alone this barbaric. I would disagree. At the end of the day, anger is not written in a person's face. You can't determine who will treat you right, who will not treat you right from the way they look. That's not how it's done. But are the signs usually there? Yes, I agree with that. The signs are usually there, and headlines like this usually, make me ask the question of what, humanity is about. Let's take away love, marriage from the equation. What exactly is humanity about? How much can one frustrate and annoy you, and the next thing that comes to your head is to want to set them ablaze? I like to know what the thought process to perpetrating that evil act. I like to know how it really works. I like to know what is, in this man's head. Now, let's now bring love into it. How can you say you want to disfigure or kill somebody that you actually claim to love, and you went to the extent of getting married to them? In fact, it's really appalling. It's really appalling, because this is an act of violence. a real act of violence. And I think we really need to have more honest conversations about what happened inside, homes. What happens when your relationship becomes toxic, anger, jealousy, and also marital, disagreement. I really don't think they should escalate into violence. I think it's time. We've gotten to the point where, if you feel unsafe with somebody, once you see a tiny bit, and something as little as if I slap you, I think you need to make yourself a priority and be safe. Run, because if I slap you, can turn to somebody, wanting to set you ablaze. Because come on, your home is supposed to be where you feel safe, right? It should feel like a place where you get protection. It shouldn't feel like a place where you need protection. And I really feel very, 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 very sad for the victim, and I really hope that justice is done and it gets the punishment that it deserves for perpetrating a crime, an heinous and evil crime like this. But let's now move to the third conversation. And religion, it's about religion, where senior pastor of Dunamis International Gospel Center, Paul Eneche, has declared that Christianity is not subordinate to any religion in Nigeria, while condemning comment attributed to Islamic cleric Sheikh Yahya Jinga. Eneche spoke during the church Sunday service at his headquarters in Abuja, reacted to the controversy generated by Jinga's recent remark in support to the continuation of Muslim presidential tickets ahead of the 2027 general elections. Let's take a look at the video.
I was away for the crusade this week past, and I heard that a frenzy was going on where I think an insane man came up to say that Christianity is subordinate to any other religion in this country. It takes insanity. It takes insanity, mental dementia, senile dementia, either insanity or criminality or both, either in the prison or in the asylum. That is where such people belong, either in the prison or in a mental home. To say that Christians are secondary to any other religion, the Lord rebuke you and your devils. Christianity is not secondary, and no group of religious fanatics will ever make it secondary. Not you, not any political group of people will ever make Christianity secondary to any. If you have sense, take a look around. There is no part of Nigeria where Christians don't exist en masse. Every part of Nigeria, whether it's Sokoto or Maiduguri or Yobe, en masse.
There was the first reaction from Chuck Desmond, and he said, "Exactly, Pastor. It's quite unfortunate that we presently have leaders who are ready to sacrifice the unity of Nigeria on the altar of their selfish political ambitions and desperation to cling to power. The voice of God shall continue to sound a warning to them and their cohorts." Another reaction from cybersecurity officer, and he said, "The time to rebuke has passed. It's time to match these people with equal madness. If APC win and enter Aso Rock come 2027, they will stop lots of things Christians do. Go to Sokoto, Isba has banned man and woman from gathering together, including inside church. Those guys are not joking." Another reaction, "Don't blame them. I only blame the Christians. We've given them this long road to be doing all the nonsense they've been doing in this country, and it has made them believe that there are more Muslims in Nigeria, which is not true. Well done, sir." Do we have more? This is the final reaction. As a Christian, and that's from Des Ejiofor, and he said, "As a Christian, we have to adopt a new method because these people are planning ahead of are planning ahead and we're just speaking English. We have to build men and women who will defend Christianity, not people who will be shouting hallelujah. But as Christians, you have to shout hallelujah now. Oh my God. So at the end of the day, yeah, religion in Nigeria is definitely something that, you know, is definitely going to be in comments. We have to work over time when it comes to religion in Nigeria. And it's good that Pastor Nyeche has come out to actually defend Christianity. No religion should be seen as a subordinate to any other religion. And at the end of the day, everyone practices what they practice. No one should feel like, you know, they're superior. And knowing the fact that Nigeria is not a Muslim country, the whole Muslim ticket hits a certain kind of nerve when it comes to, you know, the other religion. And I believe that everyone is allowed to actually like believe in their faith. That's the whole point of religion, and not having to like smear it or make the other person feel like, you know, what you're doing is completely different. You don't understand what you're doing. So yeah, let's just have a peaceful coexistence, whether Muslim, Christian. At the end of the day, I really don't think it's wise that you make one religion feel less because you're trying to prove a point as to why we should have a Muslim ticket. And it still takes me back to what I said concerning David Umahi. You need to outline the achievement of, you know, your candidates for people to decide that they have to vote him, and not, you know, having to say, oh, you have to vote this person by force, or having to play the religion card. I believe we are all one, regardless. As far as you have something you pray to, that is what matters. Whether or not no one is superior or smaller to the other. It is faith. Faith is, you know, faith is supposed to be something you believe in and not something you have to compete with. Anyways, that's a wrap on the conversation this morning on the social listening segment. Thank you for sticking around with us from 8 a.m. up till this time. We started off with the news, we had conversations on the show, and then we wrapped up with the social listening segment. Also, we'll come your way again tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the Business Morning Live Show. My name is Deborah Eze. Do have yourself a beautiful morning.
Of the impeccable credibility, professionalism, and business savviness of BusinessDay. If you really mean business in Nigeria, start your day with BusinessDay.
BusinessDay is West Africa's leading provider of business intelligence and information, delivering premium content across diversified media platforms, including online, mobile, and print. Since its inception in 2001 with a weekly newspaper production, BusinessDay has expanded its reach to provide exclusive content accessible through print, mobile, and online channels. At BusinessDay, our mission is clear: to be the foremost provider of business and financial content, empowering readers to make informed decisions in Nigeria and Africa. Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities, with millions of followers across social media and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
For 25 years, Business Day has delivered credible journalism, intelligent analysis, and decision-shaping insights to Nigeria and Africa's business community. Introducing Africa's first AI-integrated website, enhanced with powerful new capabilities. At the heart of the new platform is the AI-enabled chatbot, built to help you navigate stories faster, ask questions, get summaries, and access deeper context instantly. Text-to-speech functionality, allowing you to listen to articles on the go.
The Murtala Muhammad International Airport, Lagos, has recorded an 11.8% growth in air traffic.
Whether you're commuting, driving, or multitasking, Business Day now moves with you. And with our new language translation feature, our journalism becomes even more accessible. You can select your preferred language, thereby expanding reach across diverse audiences in Nigeria, Africa, and beyond. This innovation reinforces our commitment to being not just a news platform, but also a smart, accessible, and future-ready business intelligence hub. As we celebrate 25 years of impact, we step confidently into the future, powered by technology, driven by credibility, and focused on you. Visit the new Business Day website today and experience the future of news.
This is still the Business Day CEO Forum, the 14th annual edition, and I'm still speaking to our CEOs, business leaders right here at the booth. I'm speaking right now with the CEO of the African Medical Center of Excellence, Abuja, Mr. Brian Diva. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to start by asking you what are some of the takeaways you've gotten from this event. I mean, it's been about 6 hours now of different sessions. I believe that you would have some things you're taking back home. So what are some of those things you might want to share with our audience?
Well, obviously being in healthcare, that's going to be an area that I'll take particular interest in and gravitate to. I really enjoyed hearing the comments from Aga Khan and some of the things that they're doing, the progress that they've made, the technology that they have implemented. When we opened the African Medical Center of Excellence, we were fortunate to have attracted some of the staff from Aga Khan. And so they're very accomplished, very skilled, and we're very grateful to have them. So a number of points that were made in his presentation, particularly around medical tourism and some of the things that we can do to not only reduce it, but to reverse it, the outbound medical tourism. Additionally, and of course, I think the highlight of the day, the comments made by the governor of the central bank, and the incredible things that have been done there to shore up Nigeria's economic situation and to stabilize the currency and ultimately build confidence around the globe in what's happening in Nigeria.
Right. Let's talk about healthcare. AMC has happened to, treat more than 5,000 patients across 20 African countries. What does this tell you about the gap that we have in healthcare in Africa?
Yeah, and let me just clarify, while the commissioning occurred a little over a year ago, we've only had our full license for about 7 months. And so the bulk of those 5,000 patients have come in about a little over half a year. I think what that points to is the fact that there is a pent-up need and a recognition of the need for specialized care that has not been able to be found either in Nigeria or even in West Africa in some cases. Before the AMCE was developed, a study was commissioned to determine what the gaps were. And that's really what guided us in determining what we would be doing at the AMCE. And so we have been fortunate for the last 3 years, while the hospital was being built, to go out and meet with the administrative teams of both government and private hospitals and develop good working relationships of trust with them to encourage collaboration. And so we have been fortunate that those referring hospitals have had confidence in us to send patients to us, and again that acknowledges that we are in fact addressing some of the gaps that were there.
Right. Now, let's talk about the theme for this year's event, which is from stability to shared prosperity. When you think of stability to shared prosperity, right, for Africa, what does that mean for you? I mean, not just from an African perspective, but also from a Western perspective looking in. What would you say is shared prosperity?
Right. Well, I think taking the comments from the governor of the central bank, his is a perfect example of the theme of the forum, and that is stabilizing the economy, stabilizing the currency. And we can see that has significantly slowed down the growth of prices on everyday items, food, fuel, and that sort of thing. Now, there have been some other inputs to go into that. Our good friend Dangote has opened a large refinery with the help of Afrexim Bank,
yes.
And that too has lowered or stopped the rise of fuel prices. But once the stability occurs, then we're able to more confidently grow small businesses and medium-sized businesses, which increases employment and makes opportunities available for more Nigerians. And that's really what this is about. We need to lower unemployment. We need to provide more jobs and more opportunities to grow those small businesses.
Now, my final question for you will be navigating the economic climate, right? You heard from the governor of the central bank. He has talked about a lot of indicators that shows that our economy has stabilized. I don't know if you agree with that, but has it been navigating the economic climate as a CEO?
Yeah, so first off, I completely agree with the comments that he's made today and with the achievements that he's had. I've watched it. So I came when President Buhari was still in office. I saw the exchange rate go from, the official rate of 460 naira per dollar to about 1,800 naira per dollar. So I've seen what the governor was attempting to tackle. And as the various initiatives were put in place, many of them were painful. And I watched the pain occur across the country, but they were absolutely necessary. And so when he talks about when the hard things need to be done, you can't be a nice guy.
Yes.
I understand what he means. I think you could still be a nice guy and do the hard stuff, but I as a CEO, obviously we had to put mechanisms in place to monitor our own prices. So, as we perform very specialized cases in the hospital, whether it's heart surgery, replacement of heart valves, chemotherapy. The drugs are extremely expensive. We've had to keep a close eye on those costs so that we can keep the costs down for the patient. We've been able to do that. Part of that is in the selection of our suppliers, truly partnering with them as opposed to more of just a loose marketplace. And then the other thing too is monthly evaluating our prices to see how they need to be adjusted up or down to reflect the exchange rates. So all of that, it affects everybody. And what we're hoping is now that the currency is stabilized, that we'll be able to attract more manufacturers back to Nigeria, particularly in the healthcare space.
My final question will be, if you were to come back here in 2027, what would you hope has changed in Nigeria?
Wow. That's a great question. I'm so focused on what we are trying to accomplish at the African Medical Center of Excellence. There's a lot that's going to happen there in the next 12 months. But I think the things that we accomplish there are somewhat of a microcosm of the larger environment. So we expect to begin expansion of the hospital from 170 beds to 500 beds. We will have really all of our specialty areas functioning. We have what's called a cyclotron there on our campus, which produces nuclear material for diagnostic and treatment. And the cyclotron we put in has enough energy to not only supply us, but 4 or 5 other hospitals. I'd love to see 4 or 5 other hospitals with PET scanners who can use the isotopes that we're creating. I'd love to see the naira strengthen against the dollar. I think that President Trump is trying to assist with that. He's lowering or devaluing the dollar in an attempt to encourage exports. And so would love to see the naira strengthen against the dollar and improve the purchasing power of Nigerians. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Brian Diva. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.
All right, Ibilola Ashcroft, MD, Parthian Capitals. Really good to have a sit down with you this afternoon. All right, I understand that Parthian works closely with business growth, right? So, what qualities do you believe would make a Nigerian market investment ready? Because at the end of the day, if you're not investment ready, nobody would want to invest in you. So what qualities should these businesses have for them to, say, oh, I'm ready to get invested?
Okay. So generally, we are in, I guess, in a phase where we do have a lot of founders and we have a lot of businesses that are really springing up, and we've had conversations today that have spoken about capital and the availability of capital, and that is true. There really is capital that's available. I think what we've seen that has changed has been that for the recent past, it's been more of what we'll tag as easy capital. So you could easily access capital, not too rigorous as the case may be, but we've seen a shift now. We had, I think, the MD of EcoBank talking about the fact that there were no bankable projects or something around that side. But what I would say is that we've gotten to the era where I think capital is a bit more discerning, meaning that it's very specific about where it's going to and what value it's looking at in terms of where this capital is allocated. And I think that's really what's driving the allocation of capital nowadays. So a few things that are important for investors, because this is their money after all, and they are seeking risk-adjusted returns and looking to promote sustainable businesses. And I think one key thing will probably be corporate governance. So investors want to be sure that the business that they're putting their money in, is transparent, is well managed. As I said, the goal of giving the the intention behind allocating capital is ultimately for the return. So you want to make sure that the business is well managed, has a like a resilient business, decision making business model behind it. Another would be financial discipline. You want to make sure that the business is one that has accurate records, robust reporting. Investors want to be sure that the A that you have mentioned is the A and the B is the B, and that's really what drives them to be able to allocate more capital, I guess, to this sort of businesses. Something else would be scalability. Markets, what's the word I'll use there? Market receptivity. I don't know if that's a word, but something along those lines. Yes. So investors are very keen. I believe that capital flows still remains very attractive to businesses that are making an impact, essentially solving real problems. So those are things that I believe investors are looking for when you're looking for areas in which to, or businesses in which to put money in. I think maybe something else that is also in line with it is also who the founders are really. Investors want to know that these founders are, they are adaptable, they are flexible, they are willing to change as market conditions evolve. You have to have that flexibility. Ultimately, investors want to make sure that their capital works and generates returns, and I believe these are some of the things that they will be looking for in terms of making decisions as to where their capital goes.
So from what you said, getting capital is actually more selective now.
Oh yes,
and also founders are actually finding fundraising very difficult. Now, what's biggest investment opportunities do you see in Nigeria in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years?
So I take that as meaning like sectors. What sectors you think that are going to be? So I think maybe 2 sectors, really stick out to me, just on the basis of what we do and the businesses that we speak with. One would be the agric and agro-allied industry. Yes, as we are very much aware, food is a basic necessity. It's very needed. The market is also quite inelastic, meaning there is always demand. Some of the things that we see as the there are bottlenecks on one side, but they are also what determines what can happen. So obviously our teeming population, everybody has got to eat. Yes. So when I look at that, beyond even the food supply, which is just one aspect of it in terms of actual food production, there's also food processing, there is also the logistics speed of it, there is also the export ready businesses. So within that value chain are business opportunities that capital can actually be channeled to, and that can make significant impact in terms of the economy of Nigeria currently. I think another will be energy.
I was thinking energy.
I don't know. Energy is huge as well, and investors or people will be looking at, or investors will be looking at, solutions from areas like distributed power to renewable energy. I believe everybody has solar now, and it's such a huge market, and with good reason to say. So renewable energy, and essentially solutions. People are looking for solutions that can help reduce energy cost and push reliability. So in as long as we have businesses that are creating solutions that fit any of these buckets or these areas, essentially, and we can find the capital to back that up, then I believe that those are key sectors, that can really push Nigeria forward in the short to mid-term, I would say.
Yeah, very well. Let's talk about the CEO Forum.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
The CEO Forum. Okay. This is the 14th edition, if you're aware. Let's look at the theme from stability to shared prosperity. What do you think about that?
So I think my company actually had an event, I think it was last year, and shared prosperity is no longer new, to be honest. I think it's really become a mantra that everyone is keen into, and we need to start thinking beyond what is good for me alone or what works for me alone. At Parthian, we are very much we're very much at the center of that in terms of the businesses that we do, and as well as even the areas that we are trying to push. We are doing a lot in terms of getting into trade financing, and that's because we are trying to open up opportunities to a lot of businesses. I mean, everything is about making sure that there is an avenue for all to prosper and for all to benefit. And so from being capital allocators on our end with some of our businesses to being capital seekers, or to helping capital seekers on the other end of the spectrum, Pattern is smack at the middle of that. Be it being an individual, be you be a business, an institution, we are there to support you in terms of your financial goals, financial aspirations, and also in terms of the access to capital. Quite spot on in terms of what the conversation is about, in terms of finding capital, seeking capital to be able to build those solutions and provide those lasting solutions to some of the problems that Nigeria is currently experiencing as a nation. We're smart there, and we are open to business, and we do hope that as people listen to this, they do reach out to us, because we are willing and ready to help them move their businesses to the next level.
I like that. Thank you very much, Ibilola Ashcroft, MD, Party Capital. So it's really good to have you sit down.
Thank you for having me as well.
This is still the Business Day here from the 14th annual edition, and I've got a very lovely woman by my side this afternoon. Can you introduce yourself to us?
Absolutely. I'm Aderemi Saka. I'm the MD CEO of NASCON Allied Industries PLC, also known as Dangote Salt.
Fantastic. I'm going to start by asking you a simple question, really. NASCON Allied Industries relies almost entirely on imports, for its core raw materials, bringing in roughly $22 million to $24 million worth of goods annually. Now, tell me, how has this crisis in the Middle East, which has virtually halted, shipping fundamentally, has it shifted your organization's long-term approach to maritime risk management?
For us, it hasn't really impacted in terms of our imports, but the cost of importation has gone up. Our freight charges used to run between $21 and $25, and now we're seeing freight anywhere from $31 to $40. So that definitely has a significant impact on our cost. But what we are doing as a business is to also look at ways in which we can trim down on other costs. And so we've really looked at cost-saving initiatives across the board to be able to cushion that weight, because you definitely don't want to pass that on to your consumers.
Right. So we see manufacturers they are increasingly turning to backward integration to reduce their dependence on imported raw materials. So how has this strategy helped your company?
In terms of backward integration of salt, that is very difficult, because based on research, salt is you're not able to cultivate and to manufacture salt at the large scale within the country. But we're looking at all our other resources to see how we can really rely on local manufacturers. That is across the board in terms of our packaging material, in terms of other additives that we have to not just our salt but also our seasoning. We're definitely relying more on local manufacturers to support those endeavors.
Now, you talked about something right there on the stage. You mentioned that energy cost amounts to up to 40% of your total input cost. So tell us more about that. Like, just break it down for us.
So that is an average across the nation, across manufacturing companies. You're seeing 30 to 40% of your costs are from energy costs. So what we have done as a business is, one, we try to ensure that all of our plants, they're running in the most efficient manner. We have a mix of both AGO generators and gas power generators, and so that is able to mitigate some of that cost. And then again, but the major thing I would say is efficiency, ensuring that you're producing in an efficient manner, and you're optimizing your capacity, so that way your variable costs are significantly less per product.
Fantastic. I think we'll just leave it.
Since our establishment, we have been committed to delivering insightful, relevant, and accurate information about Nigeria's business and finance environment, while contextualizing the impact of global events. We monitor the stock market, analyze the companies driving it, and report on government policies and their economic implications. From decoding market trends to dissecting economic shifts, we offer actionable investment ideas and serve as a compass for decision makers navigating complexity. Beyond headlines, Business Day fosters discussions on critical economic issues through impactful conferences and events. These platforms bring industry leaders together to share narratives that drive innovation and spark meaningful dialogues. Our events galvanize connections, bridging the gap between inspiration and achievement. For businesses seeking visibility, our strong digital presence offers unparalleled opportunities. With millions of followers across social media, and a dynamic website attracting visitors from within and outside Nigeria. Business Day is the ideal platform to boost visibility for your products and services. If you're looking for in-depth analysis and expert opinions on Nigeria and Africa's business landscape, Business Day is your guide.
BusinessDay Media Limited convened industry leaders, policymakers, and key stakeholders for its tourism conference themed Nigeria's Tourism from Resilience to Investment-Ready Growth. The event explored how tourism can become a major economic growth through strategic investment, innovation, and stronger public-private collaboration. Bringing together experts from across the hospitality, aviation, investment, and tourism sectors, the conference created a platform for meaningful conversations on positioning Nigeria as a globally competitive tourism destination. The event commenced with welcome remarks from the Deputy Editor-in-Chief, BusinessDay Media Limited, Dr. Innocent Una, and also followed with keynote addresses and goodwill messages.
Everything is about storytelling, because from the airline, from the airports to the streets of Lagos, to the cultural centers, to the museums, to the beaches, to even government institutions, everywhere, it's all about storytelling. Because one person tells a beautiful and exciting story about your destination and it goes viral, and other people are inspired, they're excited, they want to discover it. So storytelling through art, through music, through filmmaking, everything is all about storytelling. It's very, very important.
The conference featured insightful panel discussions on strengthening Nigeria's tourism value chain, attracting sustainable investment, enhancing hospitality standards, and leveraging strategic partnerships to accelerate growth across the sector. Industry leaders including Paul Kavanagh, Stella Fubara, Martin Berdinard, Femi Oluwafemi, Utibe Basi, and Dr. Morenikeji George Taylor shared practical insights on destination marketing, hospitality excellence, aviation connectivity, investment opportunities, and the role of policy in building a thriving tourism ecosystem.
One of the common mistakes that African countries make in tourism is trying to attract an individual from a particular country to come and experience stuff that they already have in the country from which they're coming. Most people want to go on vacation and experience things that are not at home. That's the whole point. If I can eat pizza at home, why would I go to Kenya to eat pizza? I would rather go to Kenya to experience their local. So I would advise every African destination, every indigenous destination, that when you want to get involved in tourism, take a good look at what you have locally, what you have naturally, what is in your environment that isn't anywhere else, and that's what you should promote.
Discussions also highlighted the importance of infrastructure, collaboration between government and the private sector, improved visitor experiences, and the need to showcase Nigeria's rich cultural heritage to both domestic and international audiences.
Today's traveler, again, you can't break it down to one particular type of traveler. So with some businesses, you might want young people. For some businesses, you might want older people. Different hotels get different demands upon them. So, of course, connectivity, internet, those types of things have become more important. Surveys in the old days were about cleanliness, they were about comfort. Nowadays, they're a little bit more about technology. But overall, most people just want the same thing as they did 5 years ago or 25 years ago.
I think the key thing is to remain true to your original identity, to remain actively doing research in terms of the market and what's happening in the market, what's happening in the country, in the current location where you are situated, so that you know how business needs to adapt. because we are, especially in Nigeria, we need to adapt constantly, and then adapt together with that, how you can do so early enough and plan for it so that it will not be costly, because most of the times the most cost comes to us when we did not plan for something and we did not expect any changes that was going to happen in the market, and then we are normally paying for it quite dearly.
The events concluded with an engaging question and answer session, providing participants with the opportunity to exchange ideas and explore practical solutions for advancing Nigeria's tourism industry.
For an investment to be properly viable, it has to be properly thought through, planned, executed, and properly managed. So investors are obviously investing for a return, and for you to be able to guarantee a return, it also talks about understanding the business opportunity, developing locations that meet customer demand, and ensuring that from an operational and excellence standpoint, we deliver excellence in terms of our operations, our services, and our value, so that we remain profitable, generate revenues, and give good investor returns.
As the conference drew to a close, stakeholders reaffirmed their commitment to transforming Nigeria into a leading tourism destination, reinforcing the message that with the right partnership and sustained investment, the country's tourism sector holds enormous potential for economic growth, job creation, and global recognition.
As airlines, our job is definitely in the area of connectivity, ensuring a smooth experience for customers who come on our flights and giving them good treatment, good pricing, and all that. But to be able to collaborate with tour operators are also the first set of people who actually interface with customers and bring them to us. So we must have a seamless cooperating arrangement where all the challenges are smoothened out, all the experiences are made good for both the operators and the customers.
Small hospitality businesses have a little bit of a disadvantage because they have disadvantages and advantages, right? But the issue is that they don't benefit from economies of scale. So generally, they do not get the best deals when they're negotiating with suppliers and other bodies. What they can do first and foremost is group together so that they can negotiate in groups so that they can have better prices for the goods that they are serving, better profit margins as well. The second thing I would say a small hospitality business owner should do is pay attention to detail, right? Give your business the owner's touch. What do you call a boutique hotel? It's actually a hotel that someone is paying attention to certain details to create a curated experience for you. There is no way that you pay attention to what kind of experience your guests are having in your restaurant and with an owner's mentality that you will not stand out in the market.
Deborah Eze, BusinessDay Television.
In Dubai, value is what drives everything, and it's centrally planned. But in Lagos and Nigeria, where tourism is not centrally planned per se, not full time, everything about tourism in Dubai is in sync. But in Lagos, that's what we're trying to do. So that's what we're learning, that everybody, it's not just the government's business, it's not just the private sector's business, it's everybody's business, including the communities, everybody, because everyone working towards the same vision and mission, driving it, would make the difference. That's what we're trying to promote. Everything is about storytelling, because from the airline, from the airports, to the streets of Lagos, to the cultural centers, to the museums, to the beaches, to even government institutions, everywhere. It's all about storytelling. Because one person tells a beautiful and exciting story about your destination, and it goes viral, and other people are inspired, they're excited, they want to discover it. So storytelling through art, through music, through filmmaking, everything is all about storytelling. It's very, very important.
One of the common mistakes that African countries make in tourism is trying to attract an individual from a particular country to come and experience stuff that they already have in the country from which they're coming. Most people want to go on vacation and experience things that are not at home. That's the whole point. If I can eat pizza at home, why would I go to Kenya to eat pizza? I would rather go to Kenya to experience their local. So I would advise every African destination, every indigenous destination, that when you want to get involved in tourism, take a good look at what you have locally, what you have naturally, what is in your environment that isn't anywhere else, and that's what you should promote. East Africa has done an amazing job at promoting wildlife as tourism. People pay thousands of dollars just to be part of the wildlife migration in Kenya. So they're not coming to Africa to come and look at skyscrapers, to come and get on roller coasters. I mean, come on, who has better theme parks than America? So don't build one here and market it to the rest of the world. You can build one here for the locals, and that will be a different flavor, but that's not an attraction for international or tourism. So African countries need to elevate what comes to them naturally. Look at Tanzania and Mount Kilimanjaro. The richest people in the world make it a bullet point that they have to climb the mountain. That mountain is nowhere else in the world. And I really don't know what else Tanzania has to offer, but they're doing an amazing job with what they have.
Today's traveler, again, you can't break it down to one particular type of traveler. So with some businesses, you might want young people. For some businesses, you might want older people. Different hotels get different demands upon them. So, of course, connectivity, internet, those types of things have become more important. Surveys in the old days were about cleanliness, they were about comfort. Nowadays, they're a little bit more about technology. But overall, most people just want the same thing as they did 5 years ago or 25 years ago. We need to teach those people who are coming into, who will be our future, who will be dominating our hotels in 5 years and 10 years' time. We need to teach them better. So the number one thing, if we want to improve, we have to improve education.
Okay, so the last question.
Do you want the second thing?
Okay.
All right, well, let's give you the second thing. The second thing we have to do is we have to build Nigeria. We have to become proud of this great country. We have to love who we are. We have to love our history, our music, our food, our culture, all of those things. We have to love each other, right?
Yes.
And respect each other and be proudly Nigerian.
I think the key thing is to remain true to your original identity, to remain actively doing research in terms of the market and what's happening in the market, what's happening in the country, in the current location where you are situated, so that you know how business needs to adapt. Because we are, especially in Nigeria, we need to adapt constantly, and then adapt together with that, how you can do so early enough and plan for it so that it will not be costly, because most of the times the most cost comes to us when we did not plan for something and we did not expect any changes that was going to happen in the market, and then we are normally paying for it quite dearly. I think since the pandemic, guests have really started to travel more. I think the pandemic has caused people to feel the fact that that things were so serious that they were all in lockdown, that they wanted to travel after that and say, well, I need to see the world, I need to see the country, I need to see everywhere. So I think actually tourism has increased after that, and now it's just for us to be able to look at how we can capitalize on that and increase the tourism in our areas as well.
For an investment to be properly viable, it has to be properly thought through, planned, executed, and properly managed. So investors are obviously investing for a return, and for you to be able to guarantee a return, it also talks about understanding the business opportunity, developing locations that meet customer demand, and ensuring that from an operation and excellence standpoint, we deliver excellence in terms of our operations, our services, and our value, so that we remain profitable, generate revenues, and give good investor returns. Tourism basically works on the platform of real estate. Because what's tourism? Tourism drives from hotels to restaurants to beach resorts. All these are real estates. So you have what we call hospitality real estate. So in that context, I think that real estate is the driver. Tourism is a type of real estate use. So I think these are key projects that have to work hand in hand. As we are boosting the tourism industry, we're also growing the real estate industry. And like we learned today during the sessions, that there are different parts of the ecosystem. So from hotels to aviation to beaches to clubs to restaurants, these are all critical parts that work independently but collectively together as an ecosystem.
As airlines, our job is definitely in the area of connectivity, ensuring a smooth experience for customers who come on our flights and giving them good treatment, good pricing and all that. But to be able to collaborate with co-operators are also the first set of people who actually interface with customers and bring them to us. So we must have a seamless cooperating arrangement where all the challenges are smoothened out, all the experiences are made good for both the operators and the customers. That's customer responsiveness and all that will be worked in well. One of the things that is happening is that we are going to be able to have seamless movements through the airport soon. We are talking about possibility of being able to enter the airport with one passport and being able to go through the whole motion. You can book on one airline and be able to get your details on any of the systems in the airport without needing to do further bookings or further checks.
I believe that really and truly a lot of first impressions are at restaurants, but maybe not the very first, right? Your first impression is at the airport, then the cab that takes you to your hotel, then you get to the restaurant. So what can we do about the restaurant so we can deliver excellent service? It's a priority that it doesn't look like it's all about the money for us. It's important that it's clear that we want to deliver value, right? And that must be done. Number two, we have to be original, right? We don't want to duplicate experiences. We want to create unique experiences that are tailored to us. We want people to have a destination, not just a restaurant. And those are the kind of things that we're working on in the restaurant space. I think finally, we'll just to make sure that the food is really good. So ensure that people have the best time ever and enjoy what they eat. Small hospitality businesses have a little bit of a disadvantage because they have disadvantages and advantages, right? But the issue is that they don't benefit from economies of scale. So generally, they do not get the best deals when they're negotiating with suppliers and other bodies. What they can do first and foremost is group together so that they can negotiate in groups so that they can have better prices for the goods that they are serving, better profit margins as well. The second thing I would say a small hospitality business owner should do is pay attention to detail, right? Give your business the owner's touch. What do you call a boutique hotel? It's actually a hotel that someone is paying attention to certain details to create a curated experience for you. There is no way that you pay attention to what kind of experience your guests are having in your restaurant and with an owner's mentality that you will not stand out in the market. I think the last thing I would say is just that have a business plan, just like they said. Understand that business is in different segments. There's a marketing aspect of your business. There is the the business development section of your business. There's a branding section of your business. There's the actual operations. There is the accounts. There is the legal. There's the government regulatory. Understand the different sectors that are required for you to succeed and focus on them.